Chapter 351. You're not the only one who's keeping a trump card. Lin Chen's metal-type battle chi circulated for the first time, connecting hundreds of specific meridians. His silver robe fluttered, golden light shone, and his eyes were like stars. With a golden dragon spear in his hand, he was like a god of war who had descended to the mortal world. Just as Lin Chen was about to use his strongest battle skill, a purple light shot out from his chest. The purple veil fluttered in the air. It was Lin Chen's illusory limitless dream. The illusory limitless dream overflowed with purple light and emitted a powerful mental suction force, causing those demon phantoms to erupt with painful roars. Many huge demon phantoms were constantly twisting, and strands of mental energy were being extracted into the illusory limitless dream. What's going on? This is a peerless secret skill of the demon catalog. Murong Changxing's expression changed. He activated the demon catalog, trying to absorb his mental energy and battle chi back. The speed at which the illusory limitless dream absorbed his mental energy became faster and faster. Murong Changxing watched helplessly as a large portion of his mental energy was extracted. Those monstrous mental demons were constantly twisting and turning into mental energy strands that were being extracted and absorbed into the illusory limitless dream, and finally turned into ashes. Even Lin Chen, who was prepared to fight to the death, was dumbfounded. He had not expected this at all. The illusory limitless dream overflowed with brilliance and turned into a wisp of smoke that drifted back into Lin Chen's palm. The purple veil trembled slightly, and a soft and obscure voice like a young girl's echoed in Lin Chen's mind. Master, Lin Chen was shocked. After absorbing Murong Changxing's mental energy, the illusory limitless dream actually had a little spirituality. What a magical treasure! If I let it absorb a few more large amounts of mental energy, could it still have the intelligence of a human? The illusory limitless dream wrapped around Lin Chen's arm like a small snake, and then the light dimmed, turning into an ordinary purple veil that was inconspicuous. Murong Changxing knelt on the ground in a daze. His secret technique, which was enough to threaten any of the four heavenly kings, couldn't even harm a single hair on Lin Chen's head. Participant Murong Changxing, do you still have the strength to fight? If not, the outcome of the battle will be decided. Yan Qianyun transmitted a warning to Murong Changxing. When he raised his head, Lin Chen, with a spear in one hand, and the ancient azure dragon aggressively attacked. I surrender. Murong Changxing raised his hand in a sorry state and shouted hoarsely. Hearing these words of surrender, the geniuses outside the one-line sky were all shocked. The battle has ended. The victor is Lin Chen. The moment Yan Qianyun announced the result, all the sky prides present were shocked. Defeated? As one of the four heavenly kings, Murong Changxing was actually defeated by a mere heavenly dipper realm level 8, rising step by step. Lin Chen, a new heavenly king, was born. The four heavenly kings were officially changed to the 5 heavenly kings. Many sky prides thought that the battle between Lin Chen and Murong Changxing was even more exciting than the finals. Yan Qianyun's beautiful eyes stared at the strand of purple muslin wrapped around Lin Chen's arm and couldn't help but exclaim in her heart, "What a young man full of secrets!" Murong Changxing's eyes were about to crack. He carefully put away the mystical demon catalog, viciously and regretfully glanced at Lin Chen, and his figure flashed, escaping from the Abyss Dragon platform. Then, Yan Qianyun said seriously, "The top 4 have been determined. The semi-finals will begin in 3 days. Those who get the same color arrow token will be the opponent in the semi-finals. Everyone, please be prepared." As soon as her voice fell, 4 arrow tokens were distributed to the hands of 4 people, namely Ling Tian, Luo Qingyu, Yi Yanxia, and Lin Chen. Lin Chen received the arrow token with one hand, put it into his arms, put away his spear, and removed the Azura 9 Brilliance transformation. He took a deep breath and looked around the arena. There were still hundreds of attribute light balls left in the Abyss Dragon platform, all of which were left from the previous quarterfinals. The battle with Murong Changsheng was especially intense, so Lin Chen didn't have time to pick up too many attribute light balls. Other than the attribute light balls, there were also 2 blue gold treasure chests floating in the air. Host has received 5 million points of rune energy, 2,300,000 points of spiritual power, 15 million points of dark energy, 79 million points of elementary skill essence. Host has received 28 billion points of elementary battle chi essence, 7 billion points of elementary chi blood, 4,800,000 points of metal energy, 10 million points of elementary skill essence. The attribute light balls this time were second only to the ones accumulated in the Abyss Dragon platform over the past few days. Lin Chen's originally weak state had recovered to 90%, and his battle chi cultivation was advancing toward late stage level 8. Host has opened the blue gold treasure chest and received the characteristic rune Evolution Stone. Host has opened the blue gold treasure chest and received the special spiritual battle skill, Azura's Wrath. The last blue gold treasure chest made Lin Chen overjoyed. It turned out to be a spiritual secret manual. It was the super powerful spiritual attack that Murong Changsheng had used before. If it weren't for the Genesis Holy Scripture's special spiritual power control method and the slow rune, Lin Chen would have been shaken into an idiot by that spiritual attack. What a great harvest this time! I've broken through to the Transcendence realm and received a top-grade spiritual secret manual. Lin Chen grinned and leaped back into the one-line sky. Class monitor, are you alright? Did the illusion cause any mental trauma to you? Why don't you forfeit the next round? Han Ziyun was even more worried than Han Yizhi. She was afraid that Murong Changsheng would cause permanent damage to Lin Chen's mental state. I'm fine. In terms of results, I'm sincerely grateful to Murong Changsheng. Lin Chen chuckled. The prodigy of the Dan family beside him heard this and broke out in cold sweat. Motherf *Ker, you're thanking him? Then why did you make his chrysanthemum region bleed? That's how you King thank him? Lin Chen was racing against time. After exchanging a few words with everyone, he immediately sat down cross-legged and sent his consciousness into the system. System, I want to learn Azura's Wrath. System notification. Azura's Wrath is a top-grade blue battle skill. If you want to perfectly inherit it, you will need to spend 300 million beginner technique essence. Do you want to inherit it? Hearing this price, Lin Chen sucked in a breath of cold air. He had inherited many advanced blue battle skills, but none of them cost more than 40 million. A top-grade blue battle skill cost 300 million? Looking at his 1.9 billion elementary technique soul essences, he realized that most of them were from the Battle Dragon platform where the top geniuses of the spiritual state gathered. That was why he had the chance to collect so many of them. However, thinking of the power of Azura's Wrath, Lin Chen gritted his teeth and said, I want to inherit it. System received. Consumed 300 million beginner technique essence. Inheriting Azura's Wrath for the host. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Inheriting the battle skill only took 1 day. In the remaining 2 days, Lin Chen studied how to combine Azura's Wrath with the mind control method of the Taisher Bible. At this moment, everyone in the one-line sky was looking forward to the battle, not wanting to miss a single moment. The first semi-final round was about to begin. It was a real battle between heavenly kings. The first battle was between Yi Yanxia and the sword genius Ling Tian. The second battle was between Luo Qingyu and the fifth heavenly king, Lin Chen. Chapter 352. Yi Yanxia vs. Ling Tian. On one side was a peerless swordsman, while on the other was a peerless genius who cultivated both battle and physique. On the Abyss Dragon platform, the two of them faced each other. Yi Yanxia held her axe with both hands. She had to go all out against Ling Tian. I have no interest in beating up women, but if necessary, I won't show any mercy. Ling Tian's expression was cold as he slowly drew his sword. The sword was unsheathed and the sky shook. Whirlwinds swept away the clouds, and the 7 stars of the dragon abyss. You'll regret it if you look down on women. Yi Yanxia swung her blood-colored axe and slashed across the sky. The ferocious and domineering axe radiance cut through everything, creating a deep crack on the surface of the dragon platform. How domineering! Her first attack is comparable to an early-stage Yuan Venerate's attack. The expressions of the 10 great geniuses changed slightly, and they couldn't take their eyes off the battle. Lin Chen, who had just exited his cultivation state, activated his purple-gold eyes and observed the battle with interest. Yi Yanxia has indeed used 9,999 dragon power from the start. Combined with her mid-stage quasi-venerate cultivation, her every move has the strength of a Yuan Venerate. Ling Tian, who was standing proudly on the Abyss Dragon platform, sneered disdainfully. He wiped his 7 stars of the Dragon Abyss sword with his fingertips and swung his sword diagonally. The blade flowed with a faint golden aura. Insignificant skill. Even if it's fused with battle techniques, it's only brute force and no technique. Let me, Ling Tian, show you what a true ultimate skill is. The golden aura of the 7 stars of the Dragon Abyss suddenly expanded, and the sword aura soared into the sky and slashed down. High Heaven Sword Art, Golden Dipper reverses heaven and earth. The golden aura was invincible, and it turned into a vertical slash of sword aura that cut through Yi Yanxia's axe radiance on the spot. The dragon platform shook violently. Huh! Yi Yanxia let out a muffled groan, and blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. Her beautiful figure flashed, and her afterimage tore through the void. Her dual axes hacked wildly, and the force of her axe was so violent that it could crush mountains and rivers. She wanted to force her way closer to Ling Tian and start a close combat that was advantageous to her. High Heaven Sword Art, Dark Rain Sweeping Clouds. With a cold snort, the Dragon Abyss sword in Ling Tian's hands turned cold and austere. Brandishing it with extreme speed, the sword light in the sky turned into countless droplets, resembling a violent storm. The blood-red battle axe swung, leaving afterimages in the air, and collided with the raindrops of sword light. Clang! 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 Bang! 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 The 2 figures tangled together. What shocked everyone was that every drop of rain contained a sharpness that could pierce through the void. Yi Yanxia's clothes were dyed red, and in a close combat situation, she was actually suppressed by Ling Tian. When the rain of sword light landed on the dragon platform, it penetrated the ground with a bang. The Abyss Dragon platform, which was said to be able to withstand a Yuan Venerate's attack, was as fragile as a piece of tofu in the face of this rain of sword light. Sword light crisscrossed, axe shadows flashed, and the space crystal walls were continuously shattered by the torrential waves of qi. The 2 of them fought fiercely for more than 100 rounds, and Yi Yanxia was at a disadvantage the entire time. In the close combat arena that she was familiar with, she was completely suppressed by Ling Tian. He didn't even have a chance to fight back. Ling Tian's strength had once again exceeded everyone's expectations. Yi Yanxia, who was also one of the 4 heavenly kings, had actually been suppressed from the start till now. Every attack of Yi Yanxia's was comparable to an early first-level Yuan Venerate. With my blood, I ignite my blood body. Yi Yanxia burst out with a cold snort, and the blood energy in her body burned intensely. Her entire body was bathed in blood-red flames, which were the flames of her blood energy burning. Her pure strength has reached 10,000 dragon power. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes. Now was the time to go all out. Sky-devouring axe. The blood-red axes were raised high, and the burning blood flames condensed into the axes, forming a dark red line. Yi Yanxia suddenly slashed down. Do you really think that you are on the same level as me? Yi Yanxia, see reality clearly. Ling Tian pointed his sword at the sky, and his body was as still as a mountain. An earth-shattering aura was formed. Ling Tian's sword art, yellow earth reopening tens of thousands of miles. Like a flash of lightning, he raised his sword and slashed downwards. A steel rock sword with sparkling yellow scales appeared out of thin air and fiercely swung out together with the Dragon Abyss 7 Stars sword. Countless forces passed through the void and collided with the dark red bloodline with a loud bang. Boom! The battle between the two of them caused the entire Abyss Dragon platform to shake violently, and dust rose high into the sky. The earth-shattering sound of metal colliding reverberated in the dragon platform. The two of them were still fighting, but apart from a small number of people, most of the prodigy's vision was obscured by the dust. When the smoke and dust dissipated, what entered everyone's eyes was a series of intertwining fire dragons dancing in the air. Ling Tian pointed his sword at Yi Yanxia, who was covered in blood. She swung her axe to cut down 3 fire dragons, but her body was pierced through by the sword light. Poochie! Blood splattered in the sky, and Yi Yanxia fell to the ground in disbelief. Her delicate body was covered in injuries, and she didn't even have the strength to stand up. Ling Tian landed on the ground, and his white robes were like snow. He held his sword in his hand and pointed it at the beauty's neck. "Do you admit defeat?" Yi Yanxia gritted her teeth. Her face was pale, and her eyes were dim as she spat out a few words. Yanxia concedes defeat? Ling Tian sheathed his sword. Just like the previous round, he was confident and at ease. He had advanced to the finals. Most of the prodigies lamented that it was a pity that they hadn't been able to see the final decisive battle. They thumped their chests and sighed deeply. However, the small number of people who had seen the final round fell into a strange silence. Is this the true strength of the new sword? Venerate Ling Tian? He only used 3 types of the Ling Tian 5 elements sword technique and defeated Yi Yanxia, who is also one of the 4 heavenly kings. How terrifying! An ordinary Yuan Venerate can only die in front of him. Some of the top 10 prodigies revealed unprecedented fear, and their understanding of Ling Tian rose to a whole new level. When Yi Yanxia ignited her bloodline, her combat strength was equivalent to a mid-first level Yuan Venerate. She was still suppressed by Ling Tian. If he used his full strength, he might be comparable to a second-level Yuan Venerate. Lin Chen took a deep breath. He didn't have much confidence in facing Ling Tian. If it hadn't been for the attribute light balls, Lin Chen wouldn't have wanted to provoke an opponent of this level. However, he could only fight to the end now. Yi Yanxia dropped a total of 48 attribute light balls, while Ling Tian dropped 5. Looks like I'll have to collect the attribute light balls first. Lin Chen looked around the Abyss Dragon platform and rubbed his chin as he muttered to himself. The second battle of the semifinals, Lin Chen vs. Luo Qingyu. Yan Qianyun announced impatiently as she collected the 2 tokens that were flickering with green light. After exchanging a few words with Han Yizhi and the others, Lin Chen leaped up and entered the dragon platform. Luo Qingyu gracefully stepped into the dragon platform, causing many female prodigies to be mesmerized. Luo Qingyu, who had always been elegant and graceful, couldn't help but release a murderous aura when she saw Lin Chen. Lin Chen seemed to recall something when he sensed the gaze of the beauty. He shrugged his shoulders and laughed mockingly. Beauty, the situation was urgent, so I only touched it casually. Furthermore, it was a mirror image clone. Why are you so angry? Luo Qingyu's pretty face flushed red, but her murderous aura intensified as she spoke coldly. Lecher, I'll make you pay the price later. Chapter 353. Luo Qingyu's expression left Lin Dong dumbfounded. All I did was touch your mirror image's chest. Is there a need to be like this? You're making it seem like I'm not going to recognize you after having a one-night stand with you. Am I such a person? Luo Qingyu's delicate hand gripped the white feather fan tightly as she waved it. Water-type energy surged out like a golden mountain and turned into a huge ocean, drowning the entire Abyss Dragon platform. The huge ocean waves looked violent, but everything was under Luo Qingyu's control. She controlled every strand of energy so that it didn't spill out of the dragon platform, but it filled the entire dragon platform, leaving Lin Chen with nowhere to hide. There was no chance for him to escape from her attack range. Her late-stage quasi-venerable cultivation suppressed the entire area. Fire-type energy condensed into a sky, and flaming golden crows soared in the sky, surrounding Lin Chen. Blue sea fish tide. Flying swordfish formed by battle chi surged into the ocean wave. The power of each swordfish was no less than the full-force attack of a quasi-venerable. They formed a group and charged towards Lin Chen with great momentum. The scene was especially spectacular. It's indeed the improved version of the chaotic 5-spirit technique. Interesting. In front of the 9 tribulations of Genesis, the chaotic 5-spirit technique is nothing. Lin Chen laughed heartily as he used the 9 brilliance transformations. His cultivation reached the mid-stage of the 9th tier. His 9 types of battle chi were all converted into special energy bloodlines. He activated the Divine Wilderness 9 arts and pointed his finger rapidly. Earth-type battle chi broke through the ground and formed a prison. Boom, boom, boom. 4 mountain peaks that were hundreds of meters tall instantly formed around Lin Chen, blocking most of the flying heaven swordfish. When a small portion of the flying heaven swordfish surged towards Lin Chen, he blocked all of them with his myriad Yuexian armor. Although 60% of the 4 mountains were destroyed, they blocked half of the ocean waves. 5 elements attribute. Earth counters water. Golden crow blazing sun. Luo Qingyu formed a seal with her slender hands and the golden crows in the sky swooped down, turning into 3 blazing pillars of fire. They were like 3 new suns, emitting unprecedented heat. Soft water, freezing sky finger. Lin Chen continued to embellish, and the blue light of the frozen star shot out. Moreover, with Lin Chen as the center, the vast water-type energy broke through the air and appeared, turning into 3 water dragons that coiled around the blue light that cut through the void. Bang! Bang! Chi! Lin Chen's improved version of the frozen sky finger was still able to block all of Luo Qingyu's attacks. 10,000 trees forest sea. Luo Qingyu gritted her teeth and waved her feather fan as if she was unwilling to admit defeat. Tens of thousands of shocking trees, each several feet in size, rained down like a violent storm. Rumble! 10,000 shocking would contain an extremely strong force and power. One might not be of much use, but if there were 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, that was enough to shake the entire Abyss Dragon platform. His golden arm carried a strand of aged gold chi. Lin Chen held the 5 dragons' imperial spear and skillfully circulated the Divine Wilderness 9 arts. The rune energy decreased by 700,000 points. Whoosh! The golden dragon spear transformed into a golden dragon shattering the heavens, filling the sky with invincible golden spear shadows, piercing through and tearing apart the battle chi shocking wood. Of the 5 elements, metal restrains wood. The battle between the 2 of them became more and more intense. It was truly a visual feast for all the prodigies present. Their mental cultivation methods were similar in nature. They contained battle chis of many different attributes, and when they combined the battle chis of many different attributes into a combination attack, their attacks were extremely terrifying. Before each attack, Lin Chen seemed to be able to predict what kind of battle chi attribute Luo Qingyu would use to attack him. Every time, he would be able to immediately find the corresponding attribute to counter it, and use the divine 9 arts of desolation to counterattack. The entire Abyss Dragon platform was filled with streaks of metallic aura that pierced the sky, slicing through the air and sweeping across the void, causing one's heart to tremble in fear. Immediately after, blazing flames interweaved and danced in the air like a deluge of heavenly flowers, incinerating the aura of heptametal. After the explosion, sparks flew in all directions, and the power bloomed one after another. As the water flooded the dragon platform, thousands of huge waves swept across. The dense earthy aura of thousands of mountains stood around the dragon platform like an immovable black tortoise. When they collided, it was even more shocking. The battle between the two of them was an eye-opener for all the prodigies. They couldn't take their eyes off the battle at all. This wasn't a battle between the two of them. It looked more like a collision between two extremely large disasters from the ancient times, forming a torrent of energy that was tearing at each other. Why do I feel that their mental cultivation methods are a little similar? I have the same feeling too. The trajectory of their battle cheese is very similar to that of the 5 elements. However, it's obvious that Lin Chen's method is superior. His elemental battle cheese can actually be converted into special energy bloodlines. Doesn't this mean that he has 5 types of special energy bloodlines? If Lin Chen's cultivation could reach the level of a quasi-venerable, the outcome of this battle would be obvious. The elemental restraints are too severe. Furthermore, Lin Chen didn't give Luo Qingyu any chance at all. Many prodigies could see that there was something fishy going on. Luo Qingyu, who was in the midst of an intense battle, was shocked. Why does he also have 5 elemental battle cheese? Could it be that he is cultivating the same mental cultivation method as me? The more they fought, the more shocked Luo Qingyu was. The prodigal son in front of her was switching his elemental battle cheese, which coincided with her mental cultivation method. Although Lin Chen's cultivation was only at the mid-stage of Heaven's Star Border Realm Stage 9, his 9 tribulations of Genesis could convert elemental battle cheese into special energy bloodlines and unleash the strength of an energy bloodline possessor. Furthermore, with the power of the recharging rune, his elemental restraints could reduce 70% of his opponent's attack power. As for the remaining 30%, even if Lin Chen's attack was only at the level of a quasi-venerable, he could still destroy it. Little girl, I'm more familiar with the chaotic 5-spirit incantation than you are. No matter how you change it, it will still be the same. Before you make your move, I will know what elemental attack you want to use. With a teasing smile, Lin Chen's secret voice transmission reached Luo Qingyu's ears, which stunned her. He actually knows about the chaotic 5-spirit incantation? Who is he? Luo Qingyu was stunned at first. Then, when she heard that he had actually called her a little girl, her face turned red from embarrassment. Her jade-like hand tossed the white feather fan lightly and pushed it out. The intense water-type energy condensed into a green wave that rotated. The temperature in the air dropped rapidly, and a large amount of ice shards and snow fell. Luo Qingyu's slender hand grabbed lightly, and the water elemental energy condensed into a huge frost claw. Frost Claw of Extinction. Lin Chen suddenly activated his earth elemental bloodline and used the 10,000 Mountains armor. When the armor covered his body, Lin Chen held the 5 dragons' imperial spear with both hands and waved it violently, smashing the frost claw in the most violent way possible. As expected, his mental cultivation method is the second half of the chaotic 5-spirit incantation. It is more complete and perfect than mine. Luo Qingyu was not surprised that her attack was broken. Instead, she was happy. But before she could be happy for half a breath, she bit her cherry lips and her eyes shone with unwillingness. This mental cultivation method could have appeared in anyone else's body, but why did it have to be this stinking hooligan? Thinking about what he did to her mirror image, Luo Qingyu was embarrassed and angry. Chapter 354. You seem to be very interested in my mental cultivation technique, right? At this moment, Lin Chen blinked his eyes and smiled. He sent a secret message to Luo Qingyu. To tell you the truth, my mental cultivation technique is the second half of the chaotic 5-spirit incantation. Do you want it, girl? Lin Chen raised his eyebrows. Luo Qingyu stopped fighting and stared at Lin Chen in shock. It would be a lie if she said she wasn't tempted. Luo Qingyu knew very well what it would mean to her if she could get the second half of the chaotic 5-spirit incantation. She would have 5 types of super elemental battle chi that could be transformed into special energy bloodlines at any time. Even her ancestors couldn't find the second half of this mental cultivation technique even after spending half of their lives and all their connections. Lin Chun had fully demonstrated its potential and power. Even if I believe you have it, how can I be sure that you will give it to me? Luo Qingyu questioned as she stared at Lin Chen with her jade-green eyes. Of course it's a deal. I can give you the second half of the mental cultivation technique. However, you have to agree to my conditions. The conditions mentioned by Lin Chen made Luo Qingyu's eyes light up. She never believed in free lunches. If it was a deal, she would be more than happy to accept it. Tell me your conditions. Luo Qingyu sent a secret message to Su Ke without any change in her expression. The sudden silence of the two puzzled the crowd outside the arena. They were fighting fiercely just a moment ago. Why did they suddenly stop fighting? They seemed to be secretly communicating with each other? Yan Qianyun's jade-green eyes moved as she stared at Lin Chen curiously. What's going on? Why did the two of them suddenly stop fighting? Could it be that they realized the similarities between them halfway through the fight? That's why sparks of love were ignited between them? Love your head. They are two guys. What else do you want to happen between them? Just when everyone was wondering what was going on, the attack suddenly started again. Luo Qingyu's face was filled with anger as she attacked Lin Chen ferociously. Lin Chen unfolded the purple phoenix wings and used his movement technique. Like thousands of illusory shadows, he dodged many of the attacks. At this point, Lin Chen seemed to smile. His lips moved slightly as he sent a secret message to Luo Qingyu. Luo Qingyu's attacks stopped once again. Before anyone could react, Luo Qingyu launched another round of attacks. What did the class monitor say to make Luo Qingyu so angry? Could it be? Lin Chen made a cuckold out of Luo Qingyu and secretly said, "Is your wife so nice?" As everyone started to speculate, Luo Qingyu stopped her ferocious attacks once again. Her expression was one of extreme struggle and sullenness. She clenched her teeth tightly, her expression fluctuating. If I follow your conditions, will you really give me the second half of the Primal Chaos 5-spirit formula? Luo Qingyu furrowed her brows and stared at Lin Chen. Why are you so long-winded? I, Marshal Lin, have traversed the 9 prefectures and 8 desolations. What I care about is my handsomeness and integrity. If you don't believe me, I'll give you the goods first. Lin Chen's words were shocking. He took out a jade bamboo scroll and tossed it to Luo Qingyu. Luo Qingyu reached out and caught it. She used her battle chi to check the contents of the jade bamboo scroll. She realized that it was the second half of the Primal Chaos 5-spirit formula and the records of the Meridian route. You're giving it to me so easily? Aren't you afraid that I'll take it and run away? Luo Qingyu pretended to keep the jade bamboo scroll and smiled slyly. It's okay. Even if you regret it, I'm confident that I can defeat you and take it back. Besides, I'm not afraid even if you run away on the spot. Without my hints, you won't be able to cultivate this mantra. Lin Chen was calm and composed as he chuckled. The 9 tribulations of creation was one of his biggest secrets. Naturally, he wouldn't hand it over so easily. Even if Luo Qingyu agreed to his conditions, she would only obtain 1/3 of the 9 tribulations of creation. She could only convert the battle chi of the 5 elements, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, into special energy bloodlines. The remaining elements, wind, thunder, light, and darkness, were still in Lin Chen's control. As for the secret at the end of the 9 tribulations of creation, only Lin Chen knew about the final state of the 9 tribulations. I promise you, but only this once. Luo Qingyu's beautiful face flushed red. Lin Chen stroked his chin and smiled slyly. Let's make this clear first. If your performance doesn't satisfy me, I can reject you at any time. I'll take it that you're not sincere. If you go overboard, I'll reject you too. Luo Qingyu pretended to threaten him fiercely. Lin Chen smiled but didn't say anything. His spiritual ring flashed. At this moment, Luo Qingyu waved her hand gently. Layers of water curtains revolved around her and Lin Chen's figures to protect them. The group of Sky Prides was even more confused. What's going on? Are the two of them going to fight or not? The layers of water curtains revolved and finally disappeared. At this moment, Lin Chen and the Sky Prides outside the one-line line saw a peerless beauty. Regardless of gender, everyone's gaze was fixed on the peerless beauty in the arena. They couldn't take their eyes off her. Her black hair was like a star embellishment. Her figure was graceful like a swimming dragon. Her soft, gauzy green dress was like clouds and mist. Her snow-white skin was clear and bright. Her eyebrows were joined together. Her lips were white and her teeth were white. She was like a goddess of Luo, stunning everyone present. Her steps were elegant. Her legs swayed gently and her fingers danced. There weren't too many decorations, but they reflected the endless brilliance and pure beauty of a beauty. Her slender waist twisted slightly. Her slender fingers tapped lightly on the void. Her slender hands moved nimbly like a swallow flying in the sky. She lowered her body and streaked across the clouds, elegant and otherworldly. So beautiful! This is the water moon dance. Legend has it that it was created in ancient times when a saintess prayed to the goddess of Luo to rain the spring rain on the earth. What a beautiful dance! But who is this peerless beauty? Oh my God! Who else? If Lin Chen isn't on the stage, the only one left is Luo Qingyu. Luo Qingyu is a girl? Oh my God! Young Master Luo Qingyu can actually dance with such peerless grace. What's going on? Are the two of them still fighting? Why did they change their clothes and dance halfway? Why are they still fighting? If they want to fight, go to the dance studio. When they saw the slightly protruding Adam's apple on Luo Qingyu's snow-white neck, the crowd was stunned. Lin Fan nodded his head in satisfaction. A woman dressed as a man and then dressed as a woman. I'm really a genius. Haha. After the water moon dance ended, Luo Qingyu walked towards Lin Chen. She nodded her head slightly and extended her slender hand. Lin Chen placed his palm on the beautiful woman's hand. The two of them started to circulate their mental cultivation techniques at the same time. At this moment, a huge amount of elemental light balls in Luo Qingyu's body started to transfer to Lin Chen's body. Host has received 90 million elementary cultivation technique soul essences, 3,500,000 rune energy, 60 million fire energy. Host has received 230 heavens path points, 40 million water type energy, 70 million elementary cultivation technique soul essences. Host has received a cultivation method attribute light ball. Advanced blue rank combat skill, blazing golden crow. Host has opened the blue gold treasure chest. Host has received a stage 6 elixir, yin yang life restoring elixir. Many high-quality elemental light balls were transferred to Lin Chen's body through Luo Qingyu's slender hand. Even if he didn't fight, Lin Chen still had a way to obtain the elemental light balls in Luo Qingyu's body. Chapter 355. At the ice valley in the extreme north of the holy fire level, a pillar of holy flame shot into the sky, illuminating the heavens. 3 seeds of holy flame had appeared at the same time. 7 heaven star border level 9 geniuses were lying in a pool of blood. They looked terrified and confused before they died. A handsome young man in white knelt on one knee on the snowy ground. He was holding a sword in his hand and was covered in blood. He looked dazed as if he could not believe what was happening in front of him. His left arm was missing, leaving behind a smooth and perfect cut without a single drop of blood. The handsome young man in white was Bai Ming from the Bai family. He was the one who had fought with Lin Chen before and was ranked first among the top 10 geniuses. At this moment, it was a graceful and charming violet-clothed young master that stood proudly before Bai Ming. He had a feathered crown on his head and a bronze sword hanging from his waist. His face was as fair as jade and his eyes were cold and evil. His pupils were green and he looked noble. What was more terrifying was the ancient black sword hanging from his waist. The body of the sword looked like it was made of iron. It was dark and cold as if there were countless abysses. The sword aura swirled around the hilt as if there were thousands of giant dragons. If the sword was unsheathed, it would cut through the sky. How dare you touch my prey? You're just an ant. The demonic young man's cold eyes didn't seem to belong to a human. Bai Ming's eyes gradually regained their last trace of rationality, and killing intent instantly dyed his eyes red. I don't believe it. I don't believe that there is such a ridiculous thing in this world. Bai Ming shouted hysterically as he waved his sword. His battle aura surged on the low-level rank 6 heavenly demon sword, and a sword aura that could swallow mountains and rivers appeared. Clang! Bang! A flash of lightning-like blade light was extremely fast. Before Bai Ming's blade chi could be released, his low-rank 6 sky demon blade was broken on the spot, and the blade light exploded. Bai Ming held his famous saber, and his eyes were unfocused. He suddenly froze on the spot. The young man sheathed his sword. Bai Ming did not even see when the young man drew his sword. More importantly, it was a rank 6 sword. How could a Yuan venerate grade weapon be broken in half by a single strike? Even a top-level rank 6 weapon could not do that. Crack! With a clear cracking sound, an extremely faint blood mark appeared on Bai Ming's head. Roar! Expertise, nest, die. At this moment, roars and roars came from the Valley of Cold Ice. 2 gigantic creatures rushed out from the snowy mountains and rushed toward them. The 2 ferocious beasts were as tall as 1,000 feet and as majestic as a mountain peak. Their snow-white fur was as hard as steel, and they had 4 arms. They were level 6 ferocious beasts, 4-armed snow-fiend apes. Their bloodthirsty eyes stared at the demonic young man. They could actually speak human language. They were Class 6 dire beasts with higher intelligence. Ants will not become stronger just because their bodies grow bigger. The demonic young man sneered in disdain and pressed his fingertips against the hilt of his saber. A beam of light that resembled a dragon burst into the skies. Clang! The saber light traveled thousands of miles, like the sacred saber of the Son of Heaven, splitting the heavens and earth. The charm of that saber strike stunned time and years. It reflected the last brilliance of the 2 Class 6 dire beasts before they fell. The ominous-looking young man sheathed his saber, and the 2 snow-fiend apes exploded into dust on the spot. Even their ferocious beast cores had been sliced into pieces. Instant kill. 2 Class 6 dire beasts could not even escape from a saber strike from this young man? What was even more shocking was that his cultivation was only at the late stage of Heaven's Star Border Realm Stage 9. Bai Ming looked at this scene in shock. The demonic young man took the seed of holy flame and left slowly. The moment before his head cracked open, Bai Ming heard the last sentence of his life. It is normal for you to not believe that there is such a ridiculous thing in this world. After all, this world is just a plaything of God. The demonic young man's indifferent voice was blown away by the blizzard. Bai Ming's head exploded into 2 on the spot. Who exactly was this person? One-line sky, abyss dragon arena. Lin Chen proposed 3 conditions for the trade of the second half of the chaotic spirit technique. First, he wanted Luo Qingyu to forfeit the competition. Second, she had to channel her battle chi to Lin Chen according to his request. Third, Luo Qingyu had to dress up as a girl and perform the best dance she could. Of course, the third condition was just Lin Chen wanted to teach this bad-tempered girl a lesson. When Luo Qingyu's battle chi was about 80% complete to Lin Chen, there was no more elemental light ball left on her body. Lin Chen stopped channeling his battle chi. Alright, it's done. This is the secret to the second half of the chaotic spirit technique. It also contains the mnemonic to convert each elemental battle chi into an energy bloodline. Lin Chen let go of her hand and kept his promise. He passed the jade scroll that he had prepared beforehand to Luo Qingyu. Luo Qingyu was elated and her cheeks blushed. When she received the jade scroll, she hurriedly scanned through it. After confirming that there was no mistake, she waved her hand and the boundless water screen surrounded her again. When she appeared in front of everyone again, she had already returned to the handsome young master Luo Qingyu. Other than Lin Chen, none of the sky prides outside the one-line sky could guess whether she was a man or a woman. I choose to forfeit this battle. The first sentence that Luo Qingyu said when she was dressed as a man shocked everyone. What's going on? Why did young master Luo Qingyu forfeit? There must be a dirty deal behind this. The two of them seemed to be negotiating something just now. Obviously, the negotiation was successful, right? Many sky prides were discussing among themselves. Ling Tian crossed his arms and looked at Lin Chen indifferently. Is he the opponent of the finals? He's just a Heaven Star Realm cultivator. From Ling Tian's point of view, Lin Chen was not as difficult to deal with as Murong Changsheng. He just happened to have the myriad fantasy net that could restrain Murong Changsheng's mystical demon catalog. However, that item was not much of a threat to Ling Tian. As for the trump card that Lin Chen had revealed in the battle with Murong Changsheng, Ling Tian only needed to be wary of the secret technique that could slow down one's battle chi and movement. Yan Qianyun looked at Luo Qingyu and Lin Chen meaningfully and then announced, "The opponent has forfeited. The winner is Lin Chen. The participants of the finals have been decided. Lin Chen will fight against Ling Tian. The finals will be held in 5 days." This result was completely within Lin Chen's expectations. Before Luo Qingyu left the Abyss Dragon platform, she pretended to roll her eyes at Lin Chen fiercely, which made her look even more charming. "Why are you rolling your eyes? I'll teach you how to play basketball next time." Lin Chen even waved goodbye happily and then collected all the remaining attribute light balls on the Abyss Dragon platform. This time, the remaining attribute light balls were left behind by Ling Tian and Yi Yanxia during the battle. Some of them were dropped by Luo Qingyu when she attacked. Host received 30 billion elementary health points, 13 billion elementary battle chi essence, 5 million rune energy, and 150 heavens path points. Suddenly, Lin Chen found 2 blue-gold treasure chests at the edge of the Abyss Dragon platform. He did not know if they were left behind by Yi Yanxia, Ling Tian, or Luo Qingyu. He reached out and opened them. The system screen popped up. Host opened the blue-gold treasure chest and received 200 million elementary cultivation technique essence as a reward. Host opened the blue-gold treasure chest and received Phantom Rune Fragment 3/1. During this period, even Yan Qianyun, who wanted to see Lin Chen, was stopped by Ling Yueqi. On the morning of the 6th day, the first rays of the morning sun shone into the sky. The Azure Dragon's origin in Lin Chen's Dantian had expanded by a third. At the final moment of the finals, Lin Chen had assisted the ancient Azure Dragon in absorbing the Class 6 Dire Beast core. Lin Chen looked at the dragon veins in the Azure Dragon's origin. 950 dragon veins were nurturing dragon energy that could move mountains and fill seas. Very good. The ancient Azure Dragon with 9,500 dragon power, late-stage Tier 8 cultivation base, and Transcendence Realm spiritual power, as well as various elemental energies with attribute values of more than 600 million, plus 500 million rune energy and a brand new phantom rune. When Lin Chen opened his eyes, his aura soared into the sky, revealing a domineering battle intent that looked down on the world. With so many trump cards and combat power, if I can't even take down Ling Tian, I might as well kill myself with a piece of tofu. When the ancient azure dragon had nurtured 950 dragon veins, Lin Chen gradually felt that he had touched the limit. That was right, that was the limit of the azure dragon bloodline. Lin Chen's azure dragon bloodline was only at 50,000 points. The limit of this growth was estimated to be only enough for the ancient azure dragon to grow to beginner class 6. If the bloodline energy was not replenished after reaching class 6, the ancient azure dragon would not be able to advance. Lin Chen could only worry about these things in the future. On this day, experts gathered. After receiving the news, all the prodigies rushed to the one-line sky. When the Dragon Abyss 7-star sword vibrated slightly and the morning sun shone down, Ling Tian suddenly opened his eyes. When he got up, his figure flashed into the dragon platform. That's Ling Tian of the 4 Heavenly Kings. What 4 Heavenly Kings? It's the 5 Heavenly Kings now. It's here, the battle of the most powerful ancient families in the spiritual state. Who would have thought that a Heaven Star Border Stage 8 representative of the Ling family would make it all the way here? Some of the prodigies who rushed to the Abyss Dragon platform saw Ling Tian enter and couldn't help but discuss. As for the prodigies who had mocked Lin Chen before, they all hid behind the one-line sky, afraid that Lin Chen would discover them. Who would have thought that he would become one of the 5 Heavenly Kings? We all misjudged him. We are really short-sighted. How great would it have been if we had followed him like Ling Yu back then? The 10 prodigies of the Ling family also rushed to the one-line sky. When they saw Lin Chen on the other side, they realized that they were in completely different worlds and regretted it. This new 5 Heavenly Kings had once been a member of the Ling family. They had clearly had the opportunity to obtain such a fortuitous encounter and opportunity, but they had taken the initiative to let him go. When they heard that Ling Yu and the others had obtained 2 sacred fire seeds and an ancient Yuan venerate's inheritance, they couldn't believe it. When they arrived at the one-line sky battlefield and heard the prodigies discussing Lin Chen's shocking actions and achievements, they realized how stupid the decision they had made back then was. Under everyone's gaze, Lin Chen carried the 5 dragons' imperial spear and appeared in the Abyss Dragon platform in a silver robe. He had an awe-inspiring demeanor. The finals of the Battle Dragon platform, Ling Tian vs. Lin Chen. Now begin. Clang. As soon as Yan Qianyun said that, her sword was unsheathed and transformed into a dragon's roar. The gung metal sword Qi was indestructible as it slashed forward like a 1,000-foot golden waterfall. Metal slash. The afterimage was like a phantom. Purple flames and green light turned into a whirlwind that flowed around Lin Chen's body. His afterimage disappeared in a flash as he dodged the gung metal sword Qi. Rumble. The spatial crystal barrier protecting the Abyss Dragon platform and the one-line sky was on the verge of collapse. The prodigies who had arrived to watch the battle for the first time were shocked. This was one of the 4 Heavenly Kings who had advanced to the finals, Ling Tian. The power of this casual slash had already surpassed the mid-first level Yuan Venerate. Oh my god, facing such an opponent, how is Lin Chen going to win? If it were me, I would have been scared off by this sword aura. The prodigies of the Ling family gulped as they broke out in cold sweat. Azura 9 Brilliance Transformation. Sky Water, Lightning Punishment, Meteor Wind. Lin Chen's 3 special bloodline energies suddenly surged and erupted with doubled battle chi energy, infusing it into Lin Chen's battle soul. An earth-shattering battle was about to break out. It will only pounce on you when you are at your most fatal. Lin Chen, who was standing on the other side of the dragon arena, smiled. Against an opponent of Ling Tian's level, he didn't plan to take the risk of summoning the ancient azure dragon to join the battle. Ling Tian's swordsmanship was too powerful, and he could easily kill an ancient azure dragon with a casual swing of his sword. Instead of that, he might as well let his dragon force infuse into Lin Chen's body. You're afraid of my strength and don't dare to release it, right? All of a sudden, a mocking smile appeared on Ling Tian's cold face. He stepped into the air and turned into a streak of sword light. His speed was actually a notch faster than Lin Chen's full speed. It was much faster than when he was fighting with Yi Yanxia. Lin Chen was startled. He activated the Taisher Holy Scripture, and his transcendence stage spiritual energy turned into a snow-white blade that slashed out. Dragon imprisoning 10,000 wood. The Dragon Abyss sword pierced out, and a myriad of wood-type sword lights shot out from the tip of the sword. It actually pierced through Lin Chen's Taisher Holy Slash. The sword Qi's sharp edge came, aiming straight for Lin Chen's head. With full concentration, the battle spear was filled with 5-colored dragon Qi. Lin Chen swept through the air and smashed towards Ling Tian's waist. The tip of the spear tore through Ling Tian, but who knew that it was actually an afterimage? Because of the dense killing intent, Lin Chen mistakenly thought that it was an attack from the real body. Swoosh! The blazing high temperature caused the spatial crystal walls to distort. Ling Tian appeared behind Lin Chen like a ghost. The Dragon Abyss sword was burning with a crimson flame. He raised it above his head and slashed down. Fire Sword Dao, raging flames illuminate spring and autumn. The moment the Dragon Abyss sword slashed down, Lin Chen's pupils shrank, and a slowing rune with 20 million points of rune's energy appeared. In the blink of an eye, Lin Chen used 2 of his ultimate skills, the 9 Heavens Berserk Thunder and the 10,000 Yuexian armor. The lightning transformed into a dragon, and the golden battle spear and the 7-star sword collided. Pung! The aftermath of the collision, which was like the reversal of yin and yang, set off an energy shockwave that was thousands of feet high. When everyone saw the situation in the dragon platform, they couldn't help but take in a cold breath. In the center of the Abyss Dragon platform, there was a 1,000-meter-long sword scar. It was half a meter wide and 10 meters deep, and there were also signs of severe burns. Lin Chen's left shoulder was torn apart, and blood stained his silver robes. His gaze was deep. He didn't expect Ling Tian to be so fast, and thus suffered a huge loss. In the void, Yan Qianyun stared at the 2 people on the Abyss Dragon platform. A trace of doubt appeared on her beautiful face. In her divination and deduction, there was no sign of Lin Chen's appearance. Secondly, the mysterious black star behind the tiger eating the dragon did not surface either. Lin Chen was not the mysterious star that she had deduced, nor was he one of the ferocious tigers that devoured dragons. He was like a nihility being who had no fate, appearing out of nowhere and intervening in this battle. As a result, Yan Qianyun did not get the answer she wanted when she hosted the Battle Dragon platform this time. Because she'd come for the sake of the black star that she'd seen while deducing the secrets of the heavens. From the looks of it, the heavens were hiding someone else. On the other side, the prodigies who were watching the battle between the 2 trembled slightly. Compared to the destruction of the dragon platform caused by the 10 great geniuses and Yi Yanxia, Ling Tian's sword was almost equivalent to a second-level Yuan Venerate. The only reason Lin Chen didn't die was because the rune of deceleration allowed him to dodge the attack at its peak. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as simple as injuring his shoulder. Clang! Sword Qi soared into the sky and transformed into a dragon's roar. Sharp sword Qi shot out from Ling Tian's body and pierced Lin Chen's rune of deceleration into nothingness. Although he couldn't see how Lin Chen's rune of deceleration was activated, he had long been on guard against Lin Chen's rune of deceleration. He had secretly accumulated a sword aura and was ready to break the rune of deceleration at any time. Given his strength and foundation, it would be extremely difficult for Lin Chen to find a flaw in his attack as long as he was on guard. Even the rune of deceleration, which had 20 million points of rune energy, didn't cause too much of a delay. Most importantly, Ling Tian had already deduced that Lin Chen would very likely use this strange secret technique as long as he was in danger or at a critical moment in his attack. The four heavenly kings were peerless geniuses who stood out among the billions of people in the spiritual state. Lin Chen had exposed too many of his trump cards in the previous battle with Murong Changsheng. In fact, if it hadn't been for the illusory Senluo's strange weapon that had absorbed Murong Changsheng's last forbidden technique of the demon race, the victor between Lin Chen and Murong Changsheng might not have been certain. I'd like to see how fast you can be. Lin Chen swallowed 3 top-notch grade 5 elixirs, the Yin-Yang Extreme Wind Elixir. This elixir had the miraculous effect of healing external injuries and could increase the circulation speed of one's battle chi by 30%. If it was wind-type battle chi, it would be 50%, and his speed would be even faster. Chapter 358. Boom! The purple phoenix wings flapped, and Lin Chen's speed once again exceeded the limit, causing Ling Tian's expression to change. Sluggish rune. Lin Chen struck out with his palm, and the grayish-white rune descended once again. The rune's energy was reduced by another 30 million points. A sense of danger rose in Ling Tian's heart. He didn't expect Lin Chen to be able to continuously use that strange secret technique that could freeze others. 5 elements sword Dao, heavenly astral shattering heaven and earth. Golden light shone, and the sharpness of the sword condensed at the tip, and the sword slashed out. The metal element energy was unstoppable, and the sword aura surged, forming a golden waterfall that slashed towards Lin Chen. At the same time, Ling Tian flew backwards, and at the same time, he was sealed by Lin Chen's sluggish rune. A metal element battle technique. I have one too. Lin Chen's eyes shone with a dazzling golden light, and his entire body was covered by the metal element bloodline. His battle chi was poured into his 1,000 new meridians, and he completed a cycle. Heavenly Age Dragon Reversal Spear Technique. 10 Arts of the Dragon Reversal. The 5 Dragons Emperor Spear was quickly brandished, stabbing out 10 times in a row, and 1,000 feet of golden spear light shot out, swallowing the stars and absorbing the moon, with unparalleled might. The spear light crushed the sword light, and Lin Chen activated his movement technique, and the purple phoenix wings flap. With a single stride, he crossed a distance of thousands of feet, and forced Ling Tian to the edge of the dragon platform. Ling Tian's expression finally changed. At this moment, he still hadn't completely broken through the restraints of the sluggish rune. Crap, it's too late. Without caring too much, Ling Tian forcefully circulated all his battle chi and activated his defensive battle technique. Together with his defensive artifact, he formed a barrier of fire and water that surrounded him. It's useless. Lin Chen sneered coldly. In the field of close combat, it was time for the dark dragon palm to show its prowess. His left arm was covered in pitch-black dark battle aura. Layers of dark energy swirled around it, as if it contained the universe and could shatter everything in its path. Dark Dragon Palm, 6th layer Dark Dragon Energy. Lin Chen sent out 2 palm strikes in a row and 3 spear thrusts at close range. Because Ling Tian's battle chi had become sluggish, Lin Chen was unable to circulate his battle chi in time, and his defensive barrier was shattered by Lin Chen. A portion of the Dark Dragon Force had penetrated his defenses and entered his body. 7-fold Dark Dragon Force. With the final Dark Dragon Palm, Lin Chen fiercely slammed it into his chest. The rune energy dropped by 22 million points as the charge rune overlaid with the corrosion rune. The third Black Dragon Palm caught Ling Tian off guard, and he could only block it with his sword. Clang! The terrifying sound of metal colliding shook the entire sky, and it could still be clearly heard from 1,000 miles away. Ling Tian was sent flying 1,000 feet away by Lin Chen's palm strike, his entire body spinning in the air like a cannonball. Large amounts of multicolored light balls fell from Ling Tian's body, forming a dazzling array of colorful light balls. Most of these attribute light balls were elemental energy of the 5 elements and were of extremely high quality. Lin Chen couldn't be bothered to pick up the attribute light balls and chased after Ling Tian. However, he didn't expect another 1,000 sword lights to shoot towards him. Purple flames surged as the purple phoenix wings flapped, and Lin Chen dodged with all his might. To be able to break through my slow rune restriction so quickly, you're really the first one. Lin Chen clutched his injured left shoulder as fresh blood flowed out. Just now, he had used his injured arm to forcefully activate the dark dragon palm and was on the verge of collapse. Damn it, what's going on? I clearly broke through the restriction of that strange energy, but there's another energy that's constantly corroding my battle chi. Ling Tian's body was covered in the corrosion rune, and his expression was gloomy as blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. He was also on guard against Lin Chen's dark dragon palm, but he didn't expect Lin Chen's trump card to be far beyond his expectations. Lin Chen didn't intend to give Ling Tian any time to catch his breath. Holding the 5 dragons' imperial spear in one hand, he suddenly rushed forward. His spear was like a wild dragon emerging from the sea, majestic beyond compare. Ling Tian raised his sword and blocked Lin Chen's tyrannical spear. Ling Tian then turned around and slashed towards Lin Chen's calf. The purplish-golden eyes shone brightly as Lin Chen turned around like a swimming dragon, dodging the sword. Holding the spear in a reverse grip, his dragon force erupted and the tip of the spear flowed with a dense golden aura. The two of them fought with speed, and the spear and sword flashed chaotically. They fought from the edge of the dragon platform to the sky, and then turned into 2 divine lights that tangled together. The special spatial crystal wall was easily shattered by the aftermath of the two's attacks. While Lin Chen was injured, Ling Tian was even worse off. After being hit by Lin Chen's dark dragon force and being corroded by the corrosion rune, his offensive and offensive power were greatly weakened. Seeing that Lin Chen, who was only at the 9th level of the Heaven Dipper realm, was taking on Ling Tian head-on, some of the prodigy's minds went blank. Although Ling Tian's cultivation base was at the quasi-venerate level, his strength was infinitely close to the 2nd level of the Yuan Venerate realm. Lin Chen, who was only at the 9th level of the Heaven Dipper realm, was actually able to fight above his level? If the two of them were at the same level, there was no doubt that Lin Chen would definitely crush Ling Tian. In terms of age, Lin Chen was younger than Ling Tian by a few decades. It was obvious who was more talented between the two of them. However, what everyone didn't understand was how Lin Chen could achieve such a terrifying combat strength. In the hundreds of thousands of years of the spiritual state's history, no prodigy had ever been able to challenge a Yuan Venerate while at the Heaven Dipper realm. Even the 4 heavenly kings only started to have the combat strength of a Yuan Venerate after stepping into the quasi-venerate level. When they were at the Heaven Dipper realm, they still couldn't resist a Yuan Venerate. Only Lin Chen, this monster, was able to not only fight above his level, but also above his level. Was he still human? Where did this monster come from? Even the strongest saints and saintesses in history weren't as terrifying as him. Without a doubt, even though tempestuous waves arose in the hearts of everyone present, and there were boundless questions lingering in their minds. However, they all understood one thing at this moment. They were witnessing history. The higher the level of a high-grade combat skill, the more heaven-defying and rare it was. Most of the prodigies in the one-line sky possessed low-grade blue combat skills. Mid-grade blue combat skills were already the core combat skills of most prodigies. High-grade blue combat skills were basically only possessed by the top 10 prodigies and a small number of ancient prodigies. As for top-grade blue combat skills, perhaps only the 4 heavenly kings possessed 1 or 2. The value of a top-grade blue combat skill was more than the combined value of 10 high-grade blue combat skills. It was also very rare even among the ancient families. Although there was a huge gap between his cultivation and Ling Tian's, Lin Chen's strength was already at the late-stage quasi-venerate level. He could use the ancient Azure Dragon's strength of 9,500 dragon points, which allowed him to display a strength comparable to a late-stage quasi-venerate in terms of pure strength. In terms of mental cultivation methods, the 9 calamities of creation surpassed Ling Tian's mental cultivation method by too much. Furthermore, his elemental battle chi could be converted into energy bloodlines, increasing his attack power by several times. Secondly, his 5 Dragons Imperial Spear was temporarily at the mid-grade 6th grade. He had inherited the memories of the ancient weapon forging master, Jin Xiahua, and could display a strength that could suppress the Dragon Abyss Sword. On top of that, the Heavenly Age Dragon Rebel Spear was a battle skill. If he used it with his gold elemental energy bloodline, his attack power would increase exponentially. It would become a secret skill that would not lose to a top blue rank battle skill, or even reach the peak of blue rank battle skills. Lastly, combined with the explosive power of his purple golden pupils and his spiritual power, coupled with the 300% increase in attack power from the charging rune, his attack power would increase by another 2 levels. Body refinement strength, spiritual power, eye techniques, mental cultivation methods, and special runes. Every single one of them directly or indirectly increased Lin Chen's strength by several times. With so many trump cards stacked on top of each other, Lin Chen was able to accomplish such an unprecedented feat in history. Surpassing ranks and surpassing ranks. Chapter 359. Abyss Dragon Platform. Ling Tian's sword slashed out horizontally, but the 5 Dragons Emperor Spear spun around to block it. Ling Tian then stabbed out with his spear, but after dodging the attack, the dragon's spear smashed down again, creating a huge crater. Seeing Lin Chen retract his strength, Ling Tian slashed out with his sword, and the sword light covered a distance of 3,000 miles, illuminating the 9 continents. The snow-white sword light slashed horizontally across the waist, only hitting the afterimage of Lin Yi and the other 4. Lin Chen appeared behind Ling Tian like a ghost, his purplish golden eyes staring at Ling Tian, predicting all of Ling Tian's movements, and thrusting out his spear without stopping. Turning around, Ling Tian saw that the injury on Lin Chen's shoulder was gradually stabilizing, and the more he fought, the more shocked he became. Why is this brat getting fiercer the more he fights? Could it be that the grade of his cultivation method is above mine? He had always been on guard against Lin Chen's slowing rune. However, Lin Chen had been doing the exact opposite. In many of their clashes, Lin Chen had not used the slowing rune, but the corrosive rune. This caused Ling Tian's battle chi to be in a state of corrosion, and he could only unleash 2/3 of his strength. In the instant that Ling Tian was distracted, Ling Tian pierced through one of Lin Chen's afterimages. After being stunned for a moment, Lin Chen's figure suddenly appeared by his side. Lin Chen spun in the air, both his hands holding onto his spear, and the metal element light converged into a line, and his dragon force exploded out, smashing towards Ling Tian's head. While circulating his defensive skills, Ling Tian gritted his teeth, and his sword swept across the heavens, blocking Lin Chen's 5 Dragons Emperor Spear, and he was sent flying to the ground of the Abyss Dragon platform. Just when Lin Chen wanted to follow up with another attack, the fire glass shot out, and the sword chi pierced through the void. With a flap of his purple phoenix wings, Lin Chen barely avoided this sword. Ling Tian's head was bleeding profusely, and his breathing became hurried and heavy. The two of them had already exchanged countless blows, and Ling Tian was already an arrow at the end of its flight, while Lin Chen's Azura 9 Brilliance transformation was about to reach its time limit, and neither of them were in a good state. "What's wrong, great prodigy Ling? Are you feeling powerless?" As for kidney deficiency, sometimes it was just that, after being overworked, it was hard enough to last. He was the king of kings. King of kings, little sausages. 1 section is stronger than 6 sections. Show off, I only learned to be the king of single machines. Lin Chen, who had retreated to the side, said with a mocking smile. While diverting Ling Tian's attention, he secretly circulated his mental cultivation method to refine the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and the medicinal efficacy of the yin-yang extreme wind pill. Stop talking nonsense. From now on, no one knows whether you will die or I will live. Wiping off the blood stains, Ling Tian pointed his sword diagonally, and the 7-star jades on the dragon abyss sword shone with a 5-colored sword light, its sharpness shaking the heavens. Dazzling gold, murky green, aqua blue, scarlet fire, and earthy yellow. These 5 types of sword lights unceasingly coiled around the dragon abyss 7-star sword, each containing a different sharpness that condensed on the tip of the sword. The spatial crystal wall cracked, and the 5-colored sword light formed by the fusion of the 5 sword lights stirred up the wind and clouds inside the dragon platform, turning the yin and yang upside down. He is no longer determined to break through my corrosive runes. He can still erupt with an attack comparable to a 2nd-level Yuan Venerate despite being hit by the corrosive runes. He is indeed the strongest of the 4 heavenly kings. Lin Chen's expression was solemn as the 5 dragons' imperial spear in his hand began to rapidly grow 5-colored dragon chi. A faint golden light condensed on the tip of the spear as he mobilized all his metal-type battle chi. However, what was even stranger was that Lin Chen's rune energy suddenly dropped by 50 million rune energy points. A golden dragon shadow formed on the 5 dragons' imperial spear. The golden dragon roared furiously and collided with the 5-colored sword light. Sky-high sword art. 5 elements sacred sword cleaving heaven's might. Heavenly geniuses transforming dragon. The moment the 2 of them shouted, the spear and sword were brandished. The wind and clouds inside the abyss dragon platform were turbulent. The 5-colored sword light slashed furiously, and the golden dragon bared its fangs and brandished its claws as they collided continuously. Lin Chen brandished his spear again, and the golden dragon stirred up the wind and clouds. The dragon pierced through the galaxy. The 5-colored sword light cut through the void and slashed diagonally at the golden dragon's scale armor. Then it slashed back 3 times and chopped off the golden dragon's claws. The dragon's spear smashed down furiously, and the heavenage golden dragon turned into a divine dragon swinging its tail. The dragon tail swept and shook the universe as it ruthlessly slapped the 5-colored sword light. The light scattered and became even dimmer. The aftermath of the collision between the 2 of them caused the spatial crystal wall inside the dragon platform to crumble like tofu. The ground of the abyss dragon platform cracked open like giant pythons and spread all over the platform. It was a ghastly sight. The abyss dragon platform, which could withstand a Yuan Venerate's attack, actually started to crumble. The cracks, which were hundreds of feet long, burst open and spread all over the dragon platform. Such a terrifying battle had never been so serious in the battle dragon platforms of the past. At this rate, the dragon platform would crumble. Damn it! Are these 2 lunatics trying to tear down the dragon platform? Run! The spatial crystal wall is about to shatter. When the aftermath of their attacks spreads out, the entire one-line sky will be razed to the ground. While all the prodigies were at a loss, Yan Qianyun turned into a purple star and floated above the dragon platform. With a light tap of her slender finger, the crumbling spatial crystal wall stabilized again. Miss Yan Qianyun has made her move. Fortunately, otherwise, not many of us here would be able to survive. Just in case, let's retreat further away. All the prodigies retreated several dozen miles. Only a small number of people, including Ling Yueqi and the other 2, were staring intently at the situation inside the dragon platform. Lin Chen and Ling Tian were fighting with their lives on the line, and their battle chi was rapidly drained. In the first round, the 5-colored sword light split the golden dragon's claws in half. In the second round, the 5-element sword light was suppressed by the golden dragon's counterattack. In the third round, the golden dragon and the 5-colored sword light suddenly collided. With a loud boom, they shattered and turned into energy lingering in the sky, falling all over the dragon platform. The moment the golden dragon and the five-colored sword light shattered, the pale-faced Lin Chen gathered his strength and pushed out his palm. Slow rune. With the rune's energy reduced by 50 million points, the slow rune was unprecedentedly powerful. It shot toward the space where Ling Tian was and exploded. His movements and battle chi were running at the speed of a tortoise. However, Ling Tian, who was hit by the slow rune, had a creepy and gloomy smile on his face, as if he had been waiting for this move from Lin Chen. Around Lin Chen, countless hair-like transparent threads intertwined. These threads were so fine that they were almost undetectable, and no one knew when they were set up. Lin Chen, the most powerful person in the spiritual state, is still me, Ling Tian. With a gloomy laugh, Ling Tian spun the tip of the dragon abyss sword and pointed at the void. The tens of thousands of transparent threads suddenly trembled and began to tighten toward the center. The transparent threads didn't need to spend much effort to cut the space crystal wall. The space crystal wall didn't seem to be anything. They released a terrifying sharpness that blocked all of Lin Chen's escape routes. Everything was gathered in the space crystal wall. However, what was more horrifying was that Lin Chen also laughed. Chapter 360. Ling Tian had always been on guard against Lin Chen's secret technique that sealed off the enemy's movements. He had long expected that Lin Chen would launch another wave of attacks at the final moment. Thus, when he executed the five elements sword Dao unification of the Ling Tian sword art, he had already begun to lay down his other top-grade blue-rank sword technique, soul extinguishing 10,000 swords. The might of this sword technique was not inferior to the five elements sword Dao unification, but it was an assassination sword technique that could kill without a sound. Previously, when he was a mid-stage quasi-venerate, he had relied on this sword technique and the five elements sword Dao unification to kill a late-stage first-level Yuan venerate. Because the might of the five elements sword Dao unification was too great, almost no one noticed that Ling Tian had secretly laid down this sword technique in order to wait for Lin Chen to use his final delaying rune. However, the attack had already been launched. Even if Ling Tian had the delaying rune, he could still use his sword technique to attack Lin Chen. Ling Yueqi's expression changed slightly. Lin Chen had already fallen into a fatal situation. Even if he used his movement technique, he would only end up being cut into pieces by the sword chi. Soul extinguishing 10,000 swords. The Big Dipper sword suddenly pointed, and 10,000 strands of transparent sword energy gathered and slashed over from all directions. Wherever they passed, the crystal walls of space would be cut open, and a deep and pitch-black spatial crack would be formed. The transparent sword chi was like thousands of knives and slashed towards Lin Chen on the spot. Lin Chen's expression changed drastically. He quickly brandished the five dragons' imperial spear and executed the demonic lightning spear technique. However, he was completely unable to block the thousands of strands of transparent sword chi that were crazily slashing and slicing his body. Poochie! Fresh blood splattered everywhere as Lin Chen's blood splattered all over the dragon platform. The eerie white bones were a ghastly sight. From his arms, calves, thighs, head, and neck, Lin Chen was sliced into pieces like tofu. His blood dyed the entire dragon platform red. His five dragons' imperial spear dropped on the spot. Lin Chen lost? Oh my god! He gathered all his strength in the last exchange with Ling Tian. He couldn't block the final sword technique that was filled with hidden killing intent. All the geniuses exclaimed in shock. Ling Tian's final move was completely out of everyone's expectations. Ling Tian was elated to the point that he even forgot to remove the delaying rune as he roared with laughter. Ah, Lin Chen, you must have a lot of secrets on you. If it were someone else, they might have spared your life in order to dig out your secrets. However, I, Ling Tian, disdain it. I am an innate sword venerate. I only focus on the way of the sword. In the future, I will definitely become the Sword Emperor. I have a sword that can break all laws. Your little tricks are nothing to me, but to be able to fight with me for so long and die under my sword, you should feel honored. The people outside the one-line sky looked at the dragon platform with complicated expressions. Some were terrified, some were gloating, and some were regretful. Han Iji and Han Ziyun's faces instantly turned pale. Ling Yueqi's long black hair fluttered without any wind. Her green eyes were filled with killing intent and indifference. Ling Yueqi held the ice bow in her hands and was about to charge into the dragon platform. Yan Qianyan frowned as she muttered to herself, "What a terrifying sword technique. It is impossible to guard against and untraceable. Killing without a sound. It is a pity that this Lin Chun still has so many secrets that he has yet to unravel. He died just like that." The winner of the finals of the dragon platform is, just as Yan Qianyun was about to announce the result, her elegant voice stopped abruptly and a look of disbelief appeared in her green eyes. Lin Chen's corpse slowly turned into countless specks of starlight and floated in the air. Including the blood stains and broken parts of his body, they all turned into a large amount of starlight and floated in the air, disappearing on the spot. All that was left was the 5 dragons' imperial spear that was shrouded in 5-colored dragon chi. What was going on? Is the bloodline of a sword venerate very impressive? The youth's cold laughter sounded from above Ling Tian's head. Before the latter could react, a huge force slammed into his head and activated the last defensive artifact's automatic defense. Boom! Bang! Before anyone could react, the entire dragon platform shook continuously. The silver-robed youth was in high spirits, arrogant and domineering. He stepped on the back of Ling Tian's head and rubbed his head and face against the ground. Seeing that familiar figure, Ling Yueqi's tears flickered. Her usually cold and elegant face couldn't help but shed tears of joy. Damn, one sword to break 10,000 technique. Break it. I told you to act cool, and you acted pretty well. Lin Chen's other foot stomped on Ling Tian's arm, crushing his right arm on the spot. When fighting against Murong Chongqing, Lin Chen still held back. But against Ling Tian, Lin Chen wouldn't show any mercy. This fellow wanted to dismember him just now. My arm. Following that, Lin Chen stomped on his back again. Miserable cries sounded out continuously, and the last dozen attribute light balls were stomped out of his body by Lin Chen. While Ling Tian was screaming, Yan Qianyun sent a voice transmission to him. "Participant Ling Tian, do you still have the strength to fight? You still have a chance to surrender. Otherwise, you'll have to resign yourself to fate." "Surrender, I surrender." Ling Tian didn't have the awe-inspiring aura from before. All he had was fear, panic, and confusion. What was going on? Wasn't Lin Chen dismembered by his sword technique? From everyone's expressions, he didn't fall into an illusion. Lin Chen sent Ling Tian flying with a kick. Since all the attribute light balls in his body had been used up, Lin Chen wasn't interested in him. Seeing his body disappear completely, Lin Chen walked over to pick up the attribute light balls and put away the 5 dragons' imperial spear. He sighed in his heart. The Phantom Rune is so damn strong. When Lin Chen used the Heavenly Age Dragon Rebel Spear technique to fight against Ling Tian's 5 elements Sword Dao, he had already used 50 million points of rune energy to use the Phantom Rune for the first time. 50 million points of rune energy to create a phantom doppelganger, which could be said to be a substitute for reality. Unless the doppelganger was heavily injured, it would only disappear slowly after the rune energy and the battle chi of Lin Chen's doppelganger were exhausted. Not only did the doppelganger display the full strength of Lin Chen's original body, but it also made everyone present, including Yan Qianyun, run in circles by Lin Chen's doppelganger. As for Lin Chen's original body, He had already used that Azure Dragon Vanishing Shadow to hide at the edge of the dragon platform when his avatar was fighting against Ling Tian, who had fused his 5 elements Sword Dao. After hiding in the dark, Lin Chen attached his spiritual consciousness to his doppelganger to fight against Ling Tian. When Lin Chen's doppelganger used the delaying rune, Ling Tian thought that Lin Chen's every move was under his control. If Lin Chen attacked with his original body and his doppelganger, he would have a high chance of winning. However, the easiest and least risky way was to disguise himself and launch a sneak attack at the right time. The final of the Dragon Arena has ended. Winner, Lin Chen. When Yan Qianyun announced the result, the audience went wild. Cheers and exclamations filled the sky in one-line sky. Today they had witnessed history. In the long history of the ancient families of the spiritual state, there was a peerless genius who could surpass realms and levels. His name was Lin Chen. Chapter 361. Lin Chen didn't care about the cheers around him, as he picked up all 103 attribute light balls and 3 blue treasure chests from the dragon platform. The Azura 9 Brilliance Transformations aura retracted back into his body. Lin Chen's aura fell into a weak state. His meridians had shrunk, his vitality was insufficient, and his face was slightly pale. It seems that using 3 transformations in one go will still be a little draining. Lin Chen sat down on the dragon platform and smiled bitterly. However, this was much better than being unconscious for a few days. At this moment, a few figures flashed across the sky. It was Han Yizhi and Han Ziyun. Seeing everyone's worried expression, Lin Chen smiled and said, "Don't worry, I'm just too lucky." Before he could finish his sentence, the beauty's cold and soft body crashed into Lin Chen's embrace as she hugged his waist tightly. "In the future, don't do such dangerous things again, okay?" The beauty's sobbing made Lin Chen's heart ache. He stroked Ling Yueqi's hair and said softly, "I'll try my best." The Ling family's geniuses present couldn't help but sigh when they saw Ling Yueqi, who had always been cold and aloof in her family, revealing such a feminine side. After Ling Tian consumed the elixir, he recovered some of his strength. When he stood up, he glanced at Lin Chen coldly and ruthlessly. Then, he stomped his feet and flew away. In this battle with Ling Tian, Lin Chen had used 200 million points of rune energy. However, he had also picked up 200 million points from Ling Tian, so he still had 530 million points of rune energy left. Although he had gained close to 100 billion points of elementary battle chi, he still hadn't stepped into the 9th stage of the Heaven Dipper realm. The attribute points that he gained the most were the cultivation technique Soul Essences and the 5 elements energy. Lin Chen's elementary cultivation technique Soul Essences had already broken through the 2 billion mark, and his Heaven Dao points had also reached 6,650 points. He wasn't far from the requirements of the system update. Because Ling Tian cultivated the 5 elements Sword Dao, the attributes of the 5 elements he dropped were extremely high. As for Lin Chen's metal, wood, water, fire, and earth attributes, 3 of them had risen to 900 million points, and 2 of them had risen to 800 million points. On average, each elemental attribute had increased by more than 100 million points. This harvest was truly a little too terrifying. In this weakened state, I'm afraid I'll have to rest for another day or 2 before I can return to normal. Just as Lin Chen was vexed, he slapped his forehead. Didn't he just pick up a new 6th-tier pill that could dispel the weakened state? Just as Lin Chen's consciousness entered the system and everyone outside the one-line sky was about to congratulate the strongest heavenly king of this generation, a beam of holy light shone from 200,000 miles away, shooting straight into the 9 heavens. The chi of holy light soared into the heavens, condensing and not dissipating. It was like a pillar of fire that connected the heavens to the 9 heavens. All the prodigies in one-line sky only needed to activate their battle chi to see it clearly. That's the light of the seed of the holy flame. I've never seen such intense holy fire seeds gathered together. It's the blessing of the holy flame. Quick, there might be more than 5 seed of the holy flame. All the prodigies' attention immediately shifted from Lin Chun to the blessing of the holy flame that had suddenly appeared. They immediately used their movement techniques and flew in the direction of the holy flame. Lin Chun was a little surprised. He had heard of the blessing of the holy flame before. Only when more than 4 seed of the holy flame appeared at the same time at the same place would it be the blessing of the holy flame. It's the blessing of the holy flame? This direction seems to be the dead land of the extreme south. Lin Chun realized that in just 2 breaths, all the prodigies in one-line sky had set off. Only Yen Qianyun stood in place, calculating with her fingers. Other than a slight surprise on her face, she had no intention of moving at all. Beauty Yen, don't you plan to participate in the fight for the seed of the holy flame? With your late-stage quasi-venerable strength, it should be easy for you to get a share of the loot. At this moment, Lin Chun stood in the air and asked Yen Qianyun with a smile. Lin Chun, although the seed of the holy flame is good, that power is not something that an ordinary person can control. Yen Qianyun looked at Lin Chun curiously. Then, when she talked about the seed of the holy flame, her beautiful lips curled into a sarcastic sneer. Lin Chun, seeing that I can't deduce your fate, I'll give you a piece of advice. Give up on the seed of the holy flame and don't absorb it. That is something that you have to offer your will and faith to the devil in exchange for power. However, I guess you can't give up the temptation of this power. Yen Qianyun laughed at herself. Lin Chun looked deeply at her gem-like eyes and suddenly said, "Is it because there is a trace of will in the seed of the holy flame?" Hearing this, Yen Qianyun looked as if she had been struck by lightning. She stared at Lin Chun in a daze. After a while, Yen Qianyun said solemnly, You actually know? I've only read about it in ancient books. There seems to be such a small record. Of course, I don't know about it." Lin Chun smiled casually and answered ambiguously. Although this woman also had a lot of attribute light balls, Lin Chun didn't dare to provoke her. She was one of the few women present who he couldn't see through even with his purple-gold eyes. A golden brocade box appeared in his palm. After Lin Chun opened it, he swallowed a low-level 6th-rank mysterious dark pellet and summoned the ancient azure dragon. Han Yizhi and Ling Yueqi jumped onto the ancient azure dragon's back. Lin Chun sat on the azure dragon and moved forward. Han Ziyun controlled her 2 vicious beasts to follow behind the azure dragon. Lin Chun took advantage of the fact that he was rushing to the blessing of the holy flame to speed up the process of refining the mysterious dark pellet. The miraculous effects of the 6th-rank pellet surprised Lin Chun. Originally, he would have needed to carefully recuperate for more than a day, but now, he was recovering at a speed 10 times faster than before. Interesting, he can actually see through the secrets of the seed of the holy flame. If I remember correctly, he has already absorbed a seed of the holy flame, right? Yen Qianyun was very curious. She, who originally wasn't interested in the seed of the holy flame, followed behind Lin Chun's azure dragon and followed him to the land of deathly silence. Chapter 362. The Land of Dead Silence was located in the southernmost region of the Holy Fire Territory. This place was devoid of life and was surrounded by mountains and forests. Golden thunderclouds covered the sky and golden thunderbolts overflowing with destructive auras constantly struck down. And that radiance of the blessing of the holy flame that soared into the 9 heavens was actually at the core of the land of deathly silence. Some prodigies had arrived in advance, but no one dared to enter. This was because any one of the destructive golden thunderbolts in the sky had the lethality of a Yuan venerable. Lin Chun, who was riding the green dragon, saw the land of dead silence for the first time. His eyes lit up and his mouth opened slightly in ecstasy. Oh my God! In Lin Chen's eyes, the land of dead silence was filled with attribute light balls. As far as his eyes could see, they covered the mountain peak. Hundreds? Thousands? Or tens of thousands of attribute light balls. Lin Chen almost jumped up in excitement when he saw the tens of thousands of attribute light balls piled up in the land of dead silence. After calming down quickly, Lin Chen and the others arrived at the periphery of the land of dead silence. More than 200 prodigies had already gathered there. However, none of the prodigies present dared to enter, including the 5 heavenly kings who had arrived in advance. The aura of the golden sky thunder is too terrifying. Who would dare to enter? This is a natural disaster that contains the 2 ultimate attributes of lightning and metal. Unless a Yuan Venerate comes personally, it's impossible to enter. Many prodigies thumped their chests and sighed regretfully. It was not difficult for the 5 heavenly kings to withstand the attack of a first-level Yuan Venerate. However, to withstand the bombardment of tens of thousands of golden sky thunder, each of which was comparable to a first-level Yuan Venerate's full-force attack, the 5 heavenly kings would only be courting death if they entered. Some prodigies left in less than 15 minutes after taking a look. The opportunity of the blessing of the holy fire was heaven-defying, but it had descended in the inner area of this apocalyptic natural disaster. No one would be alive to take it. Some prodigies were still pondering, while a small number of people wanted to see if the 5 heavenly kings would make a move. When Murong Chongsheng and Ling Tian saw that Lin Chen had also arrived, a murderous intent flashed past their eyes. Tier 6 medicinal pills are really strong. It's only been a short while, and I've already recovered more than 80% of my weakened state. Lin Chen stretched his body and activated his purple-gold pupil. He began to survey the distribution of the mountains around the land of deathly silence. He also imprinted the areas where the heavenly dipper golden lightning was concentrated in his mind. Yan Qianyun followed closely behind Lin Chen. When she saw the blessing of the holy flame light pillar rising from the heavenly dipper thundercloud, she made some calculations and asked in surprise. Judging from this light, it seems like there are at least 9 holy fire seeds gathered. When Lin Chen heard her surprise, he couldn't help but frown and click his tongue in wonder. 9 seeds of the holy fire could create 9 holy sons and holy daughters. This was perhaps a rare occurrence in all of history. Lin Chen didn't have high hopes for the 9 holy fire seeds. His main goal was the elemental ball of light. The elemental light balls gathered in the land of dead silence were all lightning and metal elemental energies. 2/3 of the lightning-attributed light orbs were occupied by the lightning-attributed light orbs, while the metal-attributed light orbs occupied about 1/3. It should be possible. If I use the Azure Dragon Shadow to eliminate the aura and use my full speed, I should have a chance to collect all the elemental light balls. Lin Chen wasn't sure if the ancient Azure Dragon's Azure Dragon Shadow could avoid the detection of the heavenly dipper golden lightning, but it should be able to avoid a portion of it. Lin Chen jumped down and absorbed the ancient Azure Dragon into his body. He turned around and said to Han Xiun, Ling Yueqi, and Han Yizhi who had just arrived, "Wait for me here first. I'll try to see if I can enter." Lin Chen didn't care if the 3 of them and Yan Qianyun reacted. He rushed into the land of dead silence. Someone went in. Who is it? Is he crazy? Can't he see the sky full of thunderclouds? It's Lin Chen of the 5 heavenly kings. Some sharp-eyed prodigies saw Lin Chen enter the land of dead silence. The moment he stepped in, he turned transparent and disappeared in front of everyone's eyes with the Azure Dragon Shadow. That's the concealment technique that his Azure Dragon used before. He can use it too? Murong Chongsheng was a little stunned. A human using the dragon race's divine ability. That was too inconceivable. The thunderclouds surged as if they had sensed that a living being had entered. However, they didn't act immediately. Instead, they continued to howl. Lin Chen didn't dare to use his movement technique first. He carefully moved with pure strength and began to pick up the huge amount of attribute light balls in the land of dead silence. One by one, the attribute light balls piled up like a mountain. Some flickered with golden light, and some were surrounded by lightning. They were all absorbed by Lin Chen. The system screen crazily popped up. Host has received elementary metal energy 3. 9 million points, 8. 8 million points, 6. 5 million points. Host has received elementary lightning energy 8 million points, 15 million points, 9. 9 million points. Lin Chen picked them up one after another. These two attributes soared all the way to the 1 billion mark. When Lin Chen quietly picked up more than half of the attribute light balls in the outer area of the land of dead silence, the heavenly dipper thunderclouds around the land of dead silence began to surge. Within the thunderclouds, golden light shone brightly as lightning flashed. It was as if they had captured Lin Chen's trajectory and position. Oh no, what's going on? At this moment, what was even more unexpected to Lin Chen was that the 9-colored battle soul in his body suddenly throbbed. It was as if it had broken through some limits and shackles. His metal and lightning battle auras began to automatically transform into a special bloodline energy without his control. Lin Chen's entire body shone with golden light. Electric arcs flickered as he uncontrollably left the Azure Dragon shadow state. His entire body seemed to have transformed into a fusion of metal and lightning. Golden lightning flashed all over his body, making him look like a god that had descended to the mortal world. Boom! At this moment, the golden lightning moved at the same time, aiming at Lin Chen and furiously striking at him. All the geniuses sucked in a cold breath. Oh my god, what's going on? The speed of the heavenly dipper golden lightning shot towards Lin Chen. Lin Chen was distracted for a moment by the inexplicable situation in his body. When he came back to his senses, he abruptly executed his movement technique and purple phoenix wings. Bang! 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 An earth-shattering explosion shook the entire sky. Some of the geniuses outside the land of dead silence had their eardrums ruptured and many of them fainted from the shock. The spatial crystal wall was pierced through, and terrifying lightning curled up and exploded. Dozens of heavenly dipper golden lightning struck down consecutively. Its power was equivalent to dozens of Yuan venerates attacking together. Yan Qianyun waved her hand and protected Han Yizhi and the other two as she stared at the land of dead silence with great interest. At this moment, a huge chasm that was tens of thousands of feet wide and tens of thousands of feet deep had appeared in the land of dead silence. What a terrifying lightning strike! Fortunately, the power is only concentrated in one area. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to protect ourselves. Oh my god! So many heavenly dipper golden lightning struck Lin Chen at the same time. Wouldn't he be struck to ashes on the spot? It's very likely. With so many heavenly dipper golden lightning concentrated attacks, anyone below the 3rd level Yuan Venerate realm would be in danger. It can't be, right? He just became the strongest heavenly monarch in the spiritual state. Is he going to die just like that? Some of the top geniuses, who had narrowly avoided the aftermath of the lightning strike, looked at the chasm in shock. They saw a faint golden light flickering in the chasm that spanned across the periphery of the land of dead silence. A figure was faintly discernible, and many top geniuses were dumbfounded. What kind of joke is this? Could he still be alive after being struck by so many heavenly dipper golden lightning? Just as the top geniuses were sucking in cold breaths, Lin Chen's voice came from the abyss of the chasm. I, Lin Chen, am not using hacks. Chapter 363. At that moment, Lin Chen's body was surrounded by golden lightning. Even his hair had turned golden. This Could this be the true face of the 9 tribulations of creation? Lin Chen was ecstatic. He connected his consciousness to the system and found that the proficiency of the 9 tribulations of creation had reached 96%. His primary metal elemental energy and primary lightning elemental energy attributes had reached 1.2 billion and 1 billion points respectively. 9 tribulations of creation perfection. The special energy bloodline will be transformed into a heavenly calamity combat body, which is superior. The 9 tribulations will become an unprecedented 9 tribulations combat body. A piece of obscure and ancient information flowed into Lin Chen's consciousness. He was suddenly enlightened. I see. As long as any of my elemental energies break through 1 billion points, it will transform into a heavenly calamity combat body. I should now have a metal calamity combat body and a lightning calamity combat body. They are of the same attribute as the Big Dipper golden lightning and are even superior to it. That's why it can't hurt me. Lin Chen casually grabbed at the air, and the lightning arcs that were gathered around him suddenly exploded out of thin air, completely shattering the surrounding crystal walls. So powerful! I don't need to use the Azura 9 Brilliance transformation. I just need to activate the Heavenly Calamity Combat Body and I have the power of a late-stage Quasi-Venerate. Lin Chen was ecstatic. The Heavenly Calamity Combat Body had already transformed him to this extent. If combined with the pure power of the ancient green dragon, he could rival a first-level Yuan Venerate with both the Heavenly Calamity Combat Body and pure power. How powerful would he be if his 9 elemental battle chi transformed into a complete 9 tribulations combat body? Oh no! The elemental battle chi required to transform the Heavenly Calamity combat body is not comparable to the special energy bloodline. I have to hurry. He realized that his 9-colored battle spirit had already consumed a portion of his lightning elemental and metal elemental battle chi. Lin Chen hurriedly used his movement technique and returned to the land of dead silence. When they saw Lin Chen return to the land of dead silence, the geniuses' mouths twitched. They even thought that they were hallucinating. Am I seeing things? This guy is completely fine? An 8th-level Heaven Dipper realm blocked all the Big Dipper golden lightning. Is this a F** king monster? Those dozens of Heavenly Dipper golden thunder strikes down. No Heavenly Dipper realm level 3 strength can retreat unscathed. Could it be that he, an 8th-level Heaven Dipper martialist, had the strength of a 3rd-level Yuan Venerate? Ah, I feel like I've reached the peak of my life. Lin Chen let out a wild laugh. His movements were like lightning as he flapped his purple phoenix wings repeatedly, taking away the other portion of the attribute light balls. Every attribute light ball had between 50,000 to 120,000 elementary lightning or metal attribute points. At this moment, Lin Chen's 2 elemental attribute points were crazily rising. Rumble! At this moment, another 100 bolts of Heavenly Dipper golden lightning gathered and struck Lin Chen furiously like a golden lightning dragon. Bang! Bang! The space crystal wall was completely shattered. More than a dozen towering mountains were smashed into powder, revealing the cracks in the void. Many geniuses who had activated their battle chi in advance swallowed their saliva. This lightning strike was even more terrifying than the previous one. Could it be that Yi Futian was also unscathed? All they saw was a streak of golden light shooting out and a figure spinning rapidly. It was Lin Chen. After he was struck by the golden lightning dragon, he spun more than 1,000 times in the air like a top without stopping. Wherever Lin Chen spun, a large number of attribute light balls were absorbed into his body. This strike actually accelerated Lin Chen's absorption. Other than that, he was completely unscathed. The magic of love spins in circles. Thinking of you makes my heart bloom with joy, night and day, but I'm afraid that acting tough is only for a moment and will disappear in the blink of an eye. Brother Chen, I want to take a risk." As if provoked by Lin Chen's coquettish singing, the golden thunderclouds rolled furiously and shot out another 100 bolts of heavenly dipper golden lightning. Rumble! The spinning speed of the Lin top increased by a few times. Lin Chen, who was in the thunder and metal calamity battle bodies, was like a magnet. He had a strong attraction to the metal and lightning attribute light balls within 100 feet and could absorb them into his body. At this moment, Luo Qingyu, one of the 5 heavenly kings, was stunned. "I see. So this is the ultimate form of the chaotic 5-spirit technique. From elemental battle aura to elemental battle constitution." Luo Qingyu's green eyes shone brightly. It was as if she saw a whole new cultivation path from Lin Chen. Seeing the heavenly dipper golden lightning in the thunderclouds striking Lin Chen and making him spin in circles, some of the prodigies felt their scalps go numb. An 8th-level heaven dipper sovereign spinning in circles under hundreds of bolts of heavenly dipper golden lightning? Even a few thousand or tens of thousands of heaven dipper sovereigns would die. Even a 3rd-level Yuan venerate would have to run. He was still singing and spinning in circles? Crazy! This world must have gone crazy! Some of the top prodigies screamed in disbelief outside the land of dead silence. "Why, Your Excellency Lin Chen, please tell us why you are so outstanding!" Rumble! Lin Chen spun around in a carefree manner. His feet landed firmly on the peak of the last remaining mountain. He pointed at the sky and his silver robe fluttered in the wind. He was bathed in endless golden lightning, and he was extremely domineering as he laughed out loud. "Because my cultivation techniques are all picked up by me." After he finished speaking, the thunderclouds surged and the clouds surged. Lin Chen picked up the last 30 attribute light balls. Flapping his purple phoenix wings, he flew towards the inner region of the land of dead silence. Everyone was stunned on the spot as Lin Chen's words kept echoing in their minds. "My cultivation techniques are all picked up by me?" Where the F***ck did he pick them up? When Lin Chen stepped into the land of dead silence, Yan Qianyun's expression changed. She could feel that her fate and fortune were beginning to change. Any top fortune teller would have a rough understanding of their fate and fortune. If they encountered a great calamity or fortune, they would have a 6th sense to predict it. The reason why Yan Qianyun entered the holy fire level was to look for the most important black star in her life. It was the key to Yan Qianyun's fate. Whoosh! The wind was wild and the starlight was spread out. Tens of thousands of starlight swirled as the starlight jade bottle condensed in Yan Qianyun's delicate hand. Inside the starlight jade bottle was a green willow branch. It looked no different from an ordinary willow branch. However, in Yan Qianyun's eyes, the heavenly Tao Law veins were faintly contained within the willow branch's veins. It was overflowing and illusory. This immortal shows the way can only be used 3 times in a lifetime. I only have 2 left. Perhaps it's time to use the second chance now. Yan Qianyun raised the immortal willow branch and sprinkled it gently in the direction where Lin Chen left. The sparkling and translucent willow dew dispersed. When the willow dew dissipated, the world in front of Yan Qianyun changed abruptly. The vast starry sky began to reflect in Yan Qianyun's green eyes. She saw a completely different scene. A young man in a silver robe was the first to enter her memory. Chapter 364. Lin Chen jumped into the land of dead silence. This place was like a dense forest, but it was desolate and lifeless. Many plants and towering ancient trees had already died. They were gray and stood in the land of dead silence. Lin Chen activated his purple-golden eyes and quickly rushed into the land of dead silence while recovering the battle aura he had consumed with the gold tribulation and thunder tribulation battle body. 45 minutes later, Lin Chen arrived at the location of the holy flame light pillar. There was an ancient altar that was thousands of feet wide. The holy flame's radiance enveloped the entire altar, and it was dazzling. Lin Chen used his purple-golden eyes to see that there were actually 10 holy flame seeds placed inside the altar. Oh my God, 10 of them! Lin Chen rushed over with an excited expression. He used the spirit storage ring to store all 10 Saint Flame seed. As soon as he took the 10 holy flame seeds, the fortune of heaven and earth suddenly changed. With his purple-golden eyes, Lin Chen saw countless death luck and killing luck approaching him. What's going on? An expert's killing intent has locked onto me. Lin Chen's heart was in turmoil. Almost in an instant, he was in a desperate situation where he had a slim chance of survival. This killing intent made his hair stand on end and his body tremble. This was unprecedented. Clang! 1,000 miles away, the sound of a sonic boom could be heard. A powerful saber light slashed toward Lin Chen from 1,000 miles away. The saber light could split heaven and earth and devour everything. Wherever it passed, everything in its path would be turned into ashes. Lin Chen flapped his purple phoenix wings and used divine steps. As he retreated quickly, a mysterious and obscure spiritual handprint was formed at lightning speed. Azura's Fury! Along with the formation of the hand seal, the 3-headed, 6-armed Azura demon statue suddenly appeared above Lin Chen's head, bursting forth with a spiritual attack that could dye the mountains and rivers red. Bang! The saber light exploded, illuminating the heavens. The spirit tide was suddenly shattered, and the saber light turned into a sky full of raindrops of sharpness that shot down. Bang, bang, bang! Every bit of sharpness that poured down onto the ground would cause the ground to crack, exploding into a crater that was more than 1,000 feet wide. Even though Lin Chen had used the 10,000 Mountain Xian armor, he was still affected and suffered light injuries. Lin Chen fiercely stuffed 2 yin-yang extreme wind pills into his mouth, his expression unprecedentedly solemn. Something's wrong. What a terrifying killing intent. I don't even feel this oppressive feeling when facing a Yuan Venerate. I have to hurry back to the area of the Big Dipper golden lightning. With a flap of the purple phoenix wings, Lin Chen executed his movement technique at full speed. Like a bolt of lightning, he continuously turned and swept towards the area of the Heavenly Dipper golden lightning. Although Luo Yunyang did not know who had attacked him, the other party's casual slash had forced him to go all out. This kind of strength was definitely above a Yuan Venerate. Whoosh! A beam of light that looked like a polar star streaked across the sky from the south. It was as if it had leaped through space. In just a few moments, it was within 1,000 miles of Lin Chen. Saber light pierced through the sky. Oh no! The second slash is coming. Lin Chen hurriedly turned around. The saber light that spanned across the sky was like a heavenly river hanging upside down in the starry sky as it suddenly slashed down. The saber light sliced through dozens of mountains like a heavenly river descending to the earth. Bang! Boom! The spatial crystal walls crumbled and the ground was split into 2. An earth-shattering abyss appeared. It was thousands of feet long and hundreds of feet wide. It was unknown how deep it was, but it was a ghastly sight. Lin Chen was sent flying hundreds of miles away by the saber chi. The moment he stabilized his body, he activated the Azura 9 Brilliance transformation. Without holding back, Lin Chen instantly activated the 3 transformations and his cultivation soared to the peak of the 9th level. His entire body began to surge with dazzling golden light and faint lightning as he prepared to transform into 2 types of tribulation battle bodies at any time. Oh! Who would have thought that a small ant could actually avoid 2 slashes of my saber? A surprised voice rang out. In the void dozens of miles away from Lin Chen, a devilish young man in purple clothes was floating in the air. He held a black saber that was as black as the abyss and sized up Lin Chen with some interest. The two of them looked at each other. Lin Chen saw the black saber in his hand and his heart was in turmoil. Who is this person? His strength is only at the late stage of the Heaven Dipper realm? And the saber in his hand is even a 7th grade weapon? How is that possible? A Heaven Dipper realm can already control a 6th grade weapon. A 7th grade weapon, isn't that the legendary Emperor grade weapon? Lin Chen, who had become a forging master, saw through the details of the mysterious black saber at a glance. It was a 7th grade Emperor grade saber. A Heaven Dipper realm cultivator couldn't even get close to a certain range, let alone control a saber of this grade. How did this young man in purple control this saber? What was even more frightening was that this young man in purple's cultivation and combat strength were completely disproportionate. Every slash had the power to kill a venerable, and a casual slash could force him to go all out. In a flash, thousands of thoughts surged in Lin Chen's mind. The 4 heavenly kings are the geniuses that the ancient families can cultivate. No matter how strong they are, they can't be this strong. Could he be a genius from outside the spiritual state? But if there isn't a huge difference between the ancient families in the Jiuzhou continent, no matter how strong they are, they can't exceed the standard. Lin Chen had never had such doubts before. The only thing he was sure of was that the top 10 geniuses and the 4 heavenly kings were nothing in front of this young man in purple. Lin Chen was almost certain from the strength that he had just displayed. Even if all of the holy fire-level geniuses attacked him together, the only result would be that all of them would die under his saber. This person was the strongest opponent that Lin Chen had ever encountered in his life. There was no one else like him. Just as Lin Chen's mind was filled with countless thoughts, the demonic young man spoke again. "Aunt, your cultivation method is interesting. Kneel down and kowtow, give me your holy fire seed and cultivation method, and be my dog. Otherwise, you'll die." The devilish young man smiled strangely. He seemed to have noticed the extraordinariness of Lin Chen's 9 tribulations of creation, and was now threatening Lin Chen to be his lackey. "Hee, since you're so generous, I'll—" Lin Chen scratched his head and said with a smile, "Go to hell." Heavenly Dragon Transformation, 9th Heaven Wild Thunder. Corrosion and recharge runes were activated, and Lin Chen instantly transformed into Gold and Thunder Calamity combat forms. Gold lightning flashed all over his body, and he was possessed by the Azure Dragon. When the dragon power erupted, his spear was like a dragon. Lin Chen used his understanding of the 2 great spear techniques, Demonic Might Wild Thunder and Heavenly Age Dragon Rebel, to combine them and unleash a battle skill that surpassed the blue rank and was infinitely close to the purple rank. After transforming into Thunder Calamity and Gold Calamity combat forms, Lin Chen's attack power increased by more than 4 times when he used these 2 types of battle aura. With the head of a qilin, the tail of a carp, the horns of a deer, and the long beard on its face, the Gung Gold Dragon transformed into a 5-clawed golden dragon. It was surrounded by the 9th Heaven Wild Thunder, and it was indestructible. It exploded with earth-shattering power and rushed toward the demonic young man like a bolt of lightning. In just one exchange, Lin Chen had already used his strongest attack at this stage. Chapter 365. Lin Chen's lightning attribute and metal attribute energy had both reached 1.4 billion points. Just by using the strength of these 2 battle constitutions, Lin Chen could match a first-level Yuan Venerate. As the Heavenly Age Thunder Dragon tore through the void, a look of surprise flashed across the young man's eyes. "Oh, how can an ant-like mortal possess such strength?" While he was surprised, the grade 7 black saber seemed to have a mind of its own as it surged with a murderous aura. The young man then slashed down vertically. The straight saber light slashed down like a bolt of lightning and split the golden Heavenly Age Thunder Dragon apart. The lightning exploded into golden arcs that filled the sky. Like a wave of corrosive energy, it followed the golden arcs and entered the young man's body. It was Lin Chen's corrosive rune. This attack can actually corrode my battle chi. Interesting. The purplish-black battle chi was like a twisting dragon as it burst out of the young man's body and cleansed the corrosive rune's energy completely. Slow rune! Lin Chen suddenly shouted. The slow rune with 50 million points of rune energy descended from the sky and merged with the young man's body. He could block Lin Chen's battle chi attacks, but he couldn't block Lin Chen's characteristic rune. When the slow rune that suppressed eternity exploded, the young man's movements and battle chi became particularly sluggish. Half of his battle chi couldn't be used for the time being. Lin Chen followed up with another attack. His spear was like a ferocious dragon as thousands of golden arcs of lightning condensed into a single point. Clang! Unexpectedly, an awe-inspiring sharp light that illuminated the sky bloomed from the young man's body and slashed out, breaking Lin Chen's slow rune. Faced with Lin Chen's fatal strike, he held his saber with both hands and slashed out furiously. Clang! The moment the saber and spear collided, the spatial crystal walls seemed to be turned upside down and shattered into pieces. Lin Chen was forced back 100 steps by the young man's saber. His arms were numb and blood seeped out of the surface of his skin. Every step he took shattered the spatial crystal walls. It was abnormally heavy. The 5 dragons' imperial spear in his hand was also flickering with light. The dragon aura had shrunk, and the 5-colored dragon aura that used to be vivid and lifelike had now become dull and lifeless. What a monstrous weapon! My 5 dragons' imperial spear is only at tier 6 intermediate for now. It won't be able to withstand too many of his attacks. If this goes on, I'll die here. I can't fight him head-on. Looking at his own spear, Lin Chen felt his heart ache. I didn't expect a mere ant like you to have some tricks up your sleeve. However, in front of me, it's nothing more than an unorthodox trick. Die. The demonic young man sneered. Just as he was about to raise his saber and slash again, Lin Chen's lips curled into a sneer. He put away the 5 dragons' imperial spear and changed his hand seal again. At this moment, a figure silently appeared behind the demonic young man. Dark Dragon Palm, 7-layered Dark Dragon Force. That figure was Lin Chen's doppelganger. 9,500 dragon power points and dark battle aura swirled together and struck the back of the demonic young man at close range. The demonic young man's expression changed for the first time. He had not sensed when the doppelganger had approached him. He pushed out both his palms and 2 dark dragon palms exploded at close range. Dark battle aura surrounded by golden lightning pierced through. Chi. 3 layers of barriers appeared on the demonic young man's body. It was as if he had activated some high-grade defensive treasure. Even so, the dark dragon force unleashed by Lin Chen's doppelganger still penetrated part of his defense and penetrated his body. The surging dark dragon force penetrated his body. The demonic young man tasted something sweet in his throat and almost spat out blood. His eyes were filled with monstrous rage, as if he had suffered some great humiliation. I was actually injured by an ant? A few attribute light balls rolled out from the demonic young man's body and fused with Lin Chen's doppelganger. Host has received 3,000 Heaven's Path points, 200 billion Elementary Battle Aura Essence points, 600 million Elementary Cultivation Technique Essence points. Lin Chen did not even have time to look at the system's notification. Just as the doppelganger attacked the demonic young man, Lin Chen's hand seals sank, and his vast spiritual power surged rapidly. Strands of spiritual power condensed into a vortex and spread throughout the sky. Finally, they transformed into 2 3-headed, 6-armed Azura demon statues. Lin Chen's rune energy decreased by 10 million points. This was the first time he had used a 300% rune charge for a top-grade blue-rank battle technique. Roar! Roar! With his hand seals by his lips, Lin Chen opened his mouth and roared. The 2 Azura demon statues emitted a spiritual sound wave that could shatter heaven and earth. It was like a divine wind that swept through everything. This time, the demonic young man revealed a serious expression for the first time. Lin Chun had perfectly combined Asura's fury and Genesis, Holy Scriptures, special spiritual control technique. He could condense two Asura demon statues at the same time, increasing their attack power and attack range by several times. Although this action would cause the consumption of his spiritual power to double, Lin Chun did not care about that at the moment. The two Asura demon statues were stacked with runes. This spiritual attack was so powerful that even most third-level Yuan venerates would have to avoid it. Brilliant world illumination. The demonic young man's grade 7 war saber overflowed with a destructive aura as it slashed out like a wild dragon. The saber light was black and red in color. It erupted with a demonic power that could devour heaven and earth, causing the area to wail in pain. The saber light flashed and disappeared, bringing with it an aura of despair, withering, annihilation, and destruction. In the entire inner region of the Silent Land, the earth veins were uprooted, and the mountains and rivers collapsed. Only desolation and ruin were left. Lin Chen's figure had already disappeared. The demonic young man waved his black saber lightly and killed Lin Chen's doppelganger. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Trying to escape? Not so easy. A mere ant actually dared to injure my perfect body. Die. The demonic young man turned into a streak of divine light and shot towards the Big Dipper golden lightning region. Lin Chen's face was pale. His spiritual power had been barely able to summon the two Asura demon statues and was almost exhausted. I must escape to the Big Dipper golden lightning region. Otherwise, only death awaits me. Lin Chun burned his purple phoenix true flames frantically as he broke out in cold sweat. His movement technique was as fast as a dragon as he traversed hundreds of miles in a breath. The demonic young man's strength was heaven-defying. Lin Chun knew very well that his current strength was on a completely different level compared to the demonic young man's. If it weren't for the 4 attribute runes, he wouldn't even have the chance to escape. Given his strength, no one can stop him even if I escape outside. I must escape to the Big Dipper golden lightning region, where the thunderclouds are the densest. Lin Chen's eyes were filled with a strong will to survive as he flashed through the void and moved for nearly 15 minutes. Rumble! The saber aura surged across the sky. Lin Chen's expression instantly became heavy. He still managed to catch up? Hardening his heart, Lin Chen's eyes flashed with a crazed light. The rune energy in the system's status bar suddenly decreased by 230 million points. Chapter 366. Outside the Land of Dead Silence, outside the Heavenly Dipper golden lightning region. When the geniuses saw the blessing of the sacred flame disappear, they immediately beat their chests and stomped their feet in shock. Who would have thought that the blessing of the sacred flame would be snatched away by Lin Chen? Every genius could only absorb a limited amount of sacred flame seed. However, this item was not limited to them. If they could bring the extra sacred flame seeds back to their families, they would receive an unprecedented reward. Thus, the more sacred flame seeds there were, the better. The value of the sacred flame seeds was enough to receive a huge reward from the ancient families. Among so many people, only Yan Qianyun was staring blankly in the direction that Lin Chun had left in. According to the information listed by immortal Yang Lu Luo, Yan Qianyun saw everything that had happened in the Land of Dead Silence. That purple-robed youth was the person that Yan Qianyun was looking for. That person was none other than the Black Star. He is actually. After seeing him in person, Yan Qianyun finally knew what the Black Star that she had discovered when she was deducing the heavenly secrets was. His true identity was that of a true descendant of God. God was the supreme existence that created the heavens and earth. God had existed since the primordial era. They shone as brightly as the sun and moon, eternal and indestructible. The sun and moon would decay, but the god would not. The heavens and earth would be destroyed, but the god would not be destroyed. Their level of life was completely different from the mortals in the land of the 9 provinces. They had the power to create and destroy the world. The descendants of God were the descendants of the Creator of the world. They had the might of God, the bloodline and ability of God. They represented God in the land of the 9 provinces and even the wider world, controlling the entire world. Their existences were not creatures that mortals could touch or fathom at all. However, what shocked Yan Qianyun even more was that Lin Chen actually dared to make a move against a descendant of God. Was he crazy, or was he ignorant? In this world, no one had ever dared to go against the will of God. Going against a descendant of God was going against the will of the Creator of the world. This was not the level of a newborn calf that was not afraid of a tiger. This was equivalent to going against the might of the heavens with his own strength. This was like the difference between a true dragon and an ant. Who had ever seen an ant attack a true dragon? Now, not only did this young ant reveal its sharp claws at such a young age, it even dared to attack the descendant of the true dragon who controlled the world. Ever since Yan Qianyun had become a fortune-teller, this was the first time in her life that tears were flickering in her jade eyes as she muttered to herself. Could it be that he's not even afraid of gods? For Lin Chen, whether or not he knew that the other party was a descendant of God, he would not yield. No one yearned for freedom more than him. Even if it was a god, he would not lower his head. Within the land of dead silence, Lin Chen knew very well that there was no way he could defeat the purple-clothed young man with his current cultivation and trump cards, as well as the capabilities of the system in version 3.0. However, as long as he could persist until he reached the Heavenly Dipper Golden Lightning area, then he, Lin Chen, would have won half the battle. The purple-clothed youth, the descendant of God, charged over with a black saber in his hand. Beneath his feet, there were whirlwinds that resembled saber lights. Every time the tip of his foot took a step in the void, the demonic youth would teleport close to 1,000 miles away. This time, he really wanted to kill. Just now, he did not take Lin Chen seriously at all. He thought that he was just a small ant with some trump cards. However, Lin Chen's moves had exceeded his expectations again and again. He thought that he was a sheep, but he did not expect that he was a lone wolf. Holding the saber with both hands, the purple-clothed youth was about to slash out. Slow rune. A 1,000 zhang long grayish-white rune spanned across the sky. Ghost-suppressing, demon-sealing, and God-defying. It's this kind of insignificant skill again. Before he could finish his words, the purple-clothed youth's expression changed slightly. His battle chi and movements became incomparably sluggish. It was as if his entire body, including his meridians, had been filled with extremely heavy lead and iron, circulating at the speed of a tortoise. The purple-clothed youth circulated his mental cultivation method, but he was unable to break free from the shackles of this energy. This move is not on the same level as the one just now. While he was still in shock and doubt, 2 figures tore through the void and appeared on his left and right. Dark Dragon Palm, 7 layers of Dark Dragon Force. The doppelganger clapped its palms furiously, draining the last bit of dark battle chi and sending the purple-clothed youth flying. Dozens of attribute light balls fell from the purple-clothed youth's body and merged into Lin Chen's body. After the successful attack, Lin Chen quickly retreated again. Using the Wind Prison Hell King steps, Lin Chen and his doppelganger split up and retreated in 2 different directions, one south and one north. Because the doppelganger was formed by the rune energy, it was almost no different from Lin Chen's real body. The purple-clothed youth could not tell which was Lin Chen's doppelganger and which was his real body. A moment later, the saber light split the ground, and the slow rune was broken again. Do you think that I can't do anything to you just because you split up? The purple-clothed youth was enraged for the first time. Since he was born, he had always been the only one in this world. He had always been invincible, and nothing could go against his will. This time, he had been played by a mortal twice. He felt that he had suffered the greatest humiliation in his life. Boom! The ground collapsed, and the mountains collapsed. The purple-clothed youth turned into a streak of light. His battle chi was consumed at an extremely fast rate, and his speed doubled as he rushed towards the south. In less than 20 breaths, he caught up with Lin Chen's doppelganger and killed it with a single saber strike. When he realized that it was just a doppelganger, he immediately chased in the opposite direction. After another 60 breaths, he finally caught up with Lin Chen. "Wait a minute, before I die, I have something to say." Suddenly, Lin Chen, who was about to be caught up, suddenly said loudly, "Heh, you finally want to beg for mercy? Or do you want to play some tricks?" The purple-clothed youth looked at him with a cold smile. His sweaty palm was holding a grade 7 saber, and the tip of the saber was flowing with saber chi. He was ready to slash at Lin Chen at any time. He saw that Lin Chen, who was about to die, still had a mocking smile on his face. "What's the matter, handsome? Weren't you very awesome just now? Why are you sweating? Is it because your kidney is weak?" Kidney deficiency is sometimes caused by overwork. Lin Chen lifted his bangs and smiled confidently. Only a man who can last long enough can be the King of Kings. King of Kings, Luei Di Huang pill, which can cure kidney deficiency. It doesn't contain sugar, and 1 segment is better than 6 segments. Jelly, I only want the wolf of joy. Xuanhuan, I only want the king of single machines. Die. The purple-clothed youth couldn't understand Lin Chen's crazy words. He waved his saber angrily, and the saber light flashed past. Lin Chen was cut into 2. Swish, swish. Lin Chen's figure dissipated into light and flew away. The purple-clothed youth's pupils shrank. This body was also a doppelganger? He was talking crazily just now to stall for time, so he created 2 doppelganger and made him work for nothing? Thinking that he was fooled by a mortal 3 times, the purple-clothed youth's veins bulged, and his killing intent was revealed. After a while, he calmed down again. Interesting. A mortal was actually able to escape from my hands. Very interesting. Ha 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 ha. The purple-clothed youth looked up to the sky and laughed with a hint of coldness and interest. Chapter 367. The purple-clad young man had used up a lot of battle aura to chase after Lin Chen's 2 clones. Furthermore, he had to rely on his own strength to pass through the troublesome Big Dipper Golden Thunder area. Apart from that, he did not enter the Holy Fire level together with Lin Chen and the rest of the ancient families. He relied on his own strength to open a space tunnel into the Holy Fireland. Otherwise, how could the elders outside fail to see through his true identity and background? In order to safely leave the Holy Fireland and go to the next dimension, he had to preserve part of his strength. Forget it, I still came out to train after all. I was looking forward to a different experience. I didn't expect there to be such a person among the mortals. The next time I see him, I'll take my revenge. The purple-clad young man's lips curled into a cold smirk. In a flash, he disappeared. Big Dipper Golden Thunder area. After Lin Chen entered, he used the green dragon reflection as a cover and entered the most active area of the Big Dipper Golden Thunder before he dared to stop and rest for a moment. Lin Chen's rune energy had consumed 230 million points in one go, and 110 million points had been used on the slowing rune. This was the first time Lin Chen used the slow rune with more than 100 million rune energy point. He barely managed to suppress the purple-clad young man. As for the other 120 million, they were used on the phantom runes to create 2 phantom doppelgangers to launch a surprise attack on the enemy. His real body had already used the green dragon reflection to escape into the void. By the time the opponent destroyed the second clone, He had already entered the Big Dipper Golden Thunder area. After entering the Big Dipper Golden Thunder area, Lin Chen discovered a secret. That was when he used the Green Dragon reflection. He could transform part of his body into Thunder Retribution or Gold Calamity Combat body to avoid being locked on by the thunderclouds. Taking this opportunity, Lin Chen hid at the bottom of a mountain valley. He did not have to worry about being locked on by the thunderclouds for the time being. Where did this humanoid monster come from? He's only Heaven Star Border Stage 9 and he's so strong. Lin Chen broke out in cold sweat. This time, when he removed the triple transformation of the Azura 9 Brilliance transformation, he did not welcome the weakened state as usual. When Lin Chen opened the system in confusion, he was stunned on the spot. Heavenly Tao Possession System version 3.0 host. Lin Chen Cultivation Base. Heavenly Dipper Realm 9th Layer Early Stage. Maximum Strength. 7,200 Dragon Power. Elementary Vitality. 1135. 7 billion points. Basic Battle Chi Essence. 1,399. 5 billion points. Elementary Spiritual Power. 150,000,000 points. Early Transcendence Realm. Basic Cultivation Method Soul Essence. 5 billion points. Heavenly Tao Points. 14,350 Mental Cultivation Method. 9 Tribulations of Creation, 96%, Cultivation Techniques. Taisher Scripture, 90%. Azura 9 Brilliance Transformation incomplete. Bloodline Energy, up to 3 types, Azure Dragon Bloodline, 50,000 points, Purple Golden Pupil Bloodline, 10,000 points, Characteristic Runes. Level 3 Slowing Rune, Level 3 Corrosion Rune, Level 3 Charging Rune, Level 3 Illusion Rune. Basic Rune Energy, 700 million points. Elementary Elemental Energy. Fire 800 million points, Earth 800 million points, Wood 800 million points, Metal 1. 4 billion points, Water 800 million points, Lightning 1. 4 billion points, Wind 900 million points, Light 400 million points, Dark 800 million points. Update version 4. 0 requirements. Collect 10,000 Heavenly Tao points, 3 billion Elementary Cultivation Method Soul Essence. Estimated to unlock innate ability, fusion ability, upgrade initial attribute value. Treasures on hand. 2 characteristic rune stones. 77 Tier 5 medicinal pills, 321 Tier 5 medicinal herbs, 37 Tier 6 medicinal herbs, 3 Tier 6 medicinal pills, 30 intermediate blue rank battle skills, 18 advanced blue rank battle skills, 3 peak blue rank battle skills, 39 Tier 5 treasured equipment. Lin Chen realized that his elementary rune energy had increased instead of decreasing. During the battle with the purple-clothed youth, he had used more than 300 million rune energy, and now he had 100 million more than before. Elementary Battle Chi Essence had increased by 400 billion points, allowing him to enter the early stage of Heavenly Dipper Realm. His Heavenly Tao points had also increased by more than 7,000 points, and his Dark Energy had increased by 400 million points. The most terrifying thing was that his Elementary Cultivation Method Soul Essence had increased by close to 1 billion points. I understand now. So it's the attribute light balls dropped by that guy. Lin Chen slapped his thigh as if he had just woken up from a dream. He was so excited that he spoke incoherently. Damn it, Brother Chen, this is the first time I've seen such a terrifying increase in attribute. No wonder my phantom clone's Dark Dragon Palm had increased in power. So it turns out that my cultivation and dark energy have both increased. The harvest this time was completely out of Lin Chen's expectations. That purple-clothed youth had dropped a total of over 20 attribute light balls, and Lin Chen didn't even have time to count them. He didn't expect that each attribute light ball would have a massive increase in attribute. System, I want to update the Heavenly Tao Attribute Collecting System to version 4.0. The update requires 10,000 Heavenly Tao points and 3 billion elementary cultivation method soul essence. Time required for this update: 7 days. Update content: estimated to unlock innate ability, fusion ability, upgrade intermediate attribute value, etc. Does the host confirm the update? Confirm. Almost every cell in Lin Chen's body was roaring out confirm. The system has received 3 billion elementary cultivation method soul essence and 10,000 heavenly Tao points have been deducted. Beginning update: 0, 1%, 0, 2%. Damn it, if the update doesn't happen soon, there's no point in fighting. The purple-clothed youth was so powerful that it made one's hair stand on end. It was the first time that Lin Chen had met someone of the same age that he couldn't defeat. He even had to run away as soon as he saw him. As long as the purple-clothed youth was still on holy fire level, Lin Chen wouldn't dare to go out and cause trouble even if the holy fire level was vast. Even if Lin Huang and all the holy fire-level geniuses attacked together, they would only be able to slash a few more times with the grade 7 battle sword. Seeing that the system was being updated, Lin Chen's heart finally calmed down. Regardless of what the new functions would be in version 4.0, he now had 2 rune fossils, which meant that he would have at least 2 level 4 attribute runes by then. With 2 level 4 attribute runes, even the purple-clothed youth wouldn't be able to kill him so easily. After calming down, Lin Chen started to ponder. Speaking of which, who is this person? I don't know much about the world outside of the 9 continents. Could he be a genius from another world? Rumor had it that the 9 continents were divided into 9 continents, which were collectively known as the 9 continents. However, outside of the 9 continents, there were thousands of realms where there were various races and creatures, which contained the secrets of the universe. Suddenly, Lin Chen thought of a name that he had heard before: the Descendant of God. Legend had it that the 9 continents were a world where God existed. The Descendant of God would walk around the 9 continents and take care of the human world on behalf of God. If he was the Descendant of God, it would explain why he was so powerful and how he could wield a level 7 sword without suffering any backlash. Chapter 368. No one could imagine what kind of trump cards the descendants of these supreme beings would have. Thinking of this, Lin Chen smacked his lips and clicked his tongue in wonder. Could this guy really be a descendant of gods? Brother Chen, did I just have a fight with the descendant of a god? It doesn't seem like a big deal. He's just carrying a head on his shoulders. In terms of handsomeness, he's not even as good as me. Lin Chen took out a mirror and admired his handsome face for a while. It was as if he had forgotten what had just happened. He sat cross-legged quietly and concentrated on recuperating. He believed that even the purple-clothed young man would have to pay a certain price if he wanted to completely cross the Tiangang Golden Lightning Zone. Not to mention finding Lin Chen here. He had already left battle chi marks on Han Yizhi, Ling Yueqi, and Han Xiun. If the 3 of them were in danger, he would immediately kill them. If the 3 of them were not in danger for the time being, Lin Chen planned to wait here until the system was fully updated. After one day, Lin Chen took some pills and recuperated, returning to his peak state. Since he had nothing to do for the time being, Lin Chen tried to take out his sacred fire seed. There was another threat in the sacred fire seed, and that was the strange and mysterious will hidden inside it. Legend has it that if one's innate talent is excellent, they can refine more than one sacred fire seed. Now that I have 13 of them, I wonder how many I can refine. Lin Chen absorbed one of the sacred fire seeds into his body. Like the flames of hell, they swept through Lin Chen's body in an instant. From the second sacred fire seed onwards, absorbing the sacred fire seed was no longer easy. It was a torturous process because it was the first step to a new boundary. For this step, he had to undergo endless tempering by the sacred fire before he could be reborn. Lin Chen was not afraid at all. He did not think that he was someone who would stop here. This time, when the sacred fire seed entered his body, Lin Chen did not need to look for the strange will. The faint aura of his thunder tribulation and gold calamity battle body instantly removed the remnant will in the sacred fire seed. It seems that the aura of the apocalyptic body can get rid of the remaining will in the seed of holy fire immediately. The sacred flame lit up with fiery light, constantly tempering Lin Chen's bone frame and his 9-colored battle soul. The tempering this time lasted for close to 6 days before it ended. Boom! The 9-colored fighting soul in his dantian became even more condensed. Lin Chen's cultivation had officially stepped into the mid-stage of the 9th stage. More importantly, the seed of holy fire had brought many benefits to Lin Chen. His ability to absorb and refine spiritual energy, his combat skills, and other basic abilities had been greatly improved. Although it was not as good as the first time, it was more than twice as good. At this moment, a divine mark flashed between his eyebrows. 2 sacred marks. This meant that Lin Chen had already absorbed 2 holy flame seeds. The first one took less than 2 hours, the second one took 5 days and 5 nights. If I absorb the third one, I'm afraid it'll take even longer. Let's get rid of all the seeds first. Lin Chen stopped absorbing the seed of holy fire. He took out the seed of holy fire and began to channel the aura of the metal calamity and thunder calamity combat bodies into the seed of holy fire. In less than a day, he got rid of all the remaining wills in the remaining 12 seeds of holy fire. The seed of holy fire in Lin Chen's hand now was the purest holy fire energy. There were no impurities or wills. Even if he absorbed it, he would not be implanted with that strange will. Before Lin Chen could rejoice, a screen popped up from the system, causing Lin Chen to go wild with joy. Heavenly Tao Attribute Picking System version 4.0 has been successfully updated. Version 4.0's special rune function, new talent function, and fusion function have been unlocked. New attribute added. Talent value. As this is the first time the host has unlocked the talent function, the system has randomly given a new talent for the host to use. Please check the new version of the system. The system update has unlocked many auxiliary functions. Please explore them to your heart's content. System's friendly reminder. In this update, the host has upgraded most of the basic values to intermediate values. The ratio is 100 million points equal to 1 point. For example, 1135. 7 billion basic blood chi energy equals 11,357 middle blood chi energy. Lin Chen could not wait to open the system. A brand new system panel appeared. Heavenly Tao Attribute Picking System version 4.0 host. Lin Chen Cultivation. Heaven Dipper Realm Stage 9 Initial Stage. Limit. 7200 Dragon Power. Intermediate Blood Chi Energy. 11357 Intermediate Battle Chi Essence. 13995 Intermediate Spiritual Power. 15 Initial Stage of Law Phase. Intermediate Cultivation Soul Essence. 5 Heavenly Tao Points. 4350 Intermediate Rune Energy. 7 Talent Value. 0 Intermediate Elemental Energy, 8-2 for Fire, 8 for Earth, 8 for Wood, 14 for Metal, 8 for Water, 14 for Lightning, 9 for Wind, 4 for Light, 8 for Dark. Cultivation Technique Status Column, Open or Not, Bloodline Energy, maximum of 3 types, Green Dragon Bloodline, 50,000 points, Purple Golden Pupil Bloodline, 10,000 points, Talent. Destined 1 one-time talent triggered passively. If the host is in a life or death situation, this talent will be triggered to heal the host's injuries once. If the host's head is completely destroyed, this talent will not be triggered. Special Runes. Level 3 Slowing Rune, Level 3 Corrosion Rune, Level 3 Charging Rune, Level 3 Illusion Rune. Treasures in possession: 2 Special Rune Evolution Stones. 77 Level 5 Pills, 321 Level 5 Herbs, 37 Level 6 Herbs, 3 Level 6 Pills, 30 Intermediate Blue Rank Battle Skills, 18 Advanced Blue Rank Battle Skills, 3 Pinnacle Blue Rank Battle Skills, 39 Level 5 Treasured Equipment. Lin Chen realized that his system had become more diverse and simpler. His cultivation technique status column had been folded up. As long as he wanted to see it, he could open it at any time. Next, all his basic attribute points had been upgraded to intermediate attribute points. The ratio was 100 million points to 1. At this moment, Lin Chen realized that there was an additional fusion button in the system. System notification. The fusion function can fuse multiple items of the same type. For example, cultivation techniques, pills, herbs, rare ores, treasured equipment, and so on. The host will consume an indefinite amount of heavenly Dao points to use the fusion function. Tapping on the fusion function, Lin Chen curiously issued an order. System: fuse all the cultivation techniques below the advanced blue rank. Cultivation techniques below the advanced blue rank were no longer of much use to Lin Chen. To the previous Lin Chen, it could be said that they were of little value to him. Now, he could use them to test the waters of this new fusion function. After tapping on the confirm button again, Lin Chen's heavenly Dao points disappeared by 150 points. The 30 intermediate blue rank cultivation techniques were thrown into the furnace formed by the fusion function. Boom boom ding! The furnace let out a crisp sound. 6 advanced blue rank cultivation techniques were newly created. Fusion result: 2 movement battle skills, 3 offensive battle skills, 1 defensive battle skill. Lin Chen's mouth was slightly agape. There were actually 6 advanced blue rank cultivation techniques. Ha! This fusion function is too damn awesome. I want to fuse all the advanced blue rank cultivation techniques recorded in the system. Chapter 369. Lin Chen clicked on the fusion function again and clicked on the confirm function. This time, he had 900 heaven path points deducted. The 18 high-level blue skills and the 6 that Lin Chen had just obtained were all integrated into the 24 skills. This time, Lin Chen felt a little uneasy. There had to be at least one top-level blue skill among the 24 high-level blue skills. He already had 3 top-grade blue rank cultivation methods in his possession, but all of them were offensive. Lin Chen had the Shadow Dragon Palm and the Heavenly Dragon Renegade. What he lacked the most was top-level blue skills other than offensive skills. Even among the ancient families, top-level blue skills were the best. Among the holy fire-level geniuses, there were less than 10 of them who possessed top blue combat skills. As Lin Chen looked on in anticipation, the furnace shook and roared again. Boom! Boom! Ding! Ding! 2 skills that were surrounded by clouds and glowed with a faint blue light floated outside the furnace. He nervously tapped on the 2 skills, and the system displayed them. Top blue rank movement technique, Astral Trampling Thunder, top blue rank offensive technique, Cloud Dragon Saber technique. He got it! A top-level blue body movement skill. Lin Chen jumped up in excitement. Although the second skill would not be of much help to him, a top-level blue body movement skill was worth it. A body movement skill of this level was priceless in the spiritual state. Even an ancient family with a strong foundation might only have 1 or 2 top-level blue body movement skills. Moreover, this was one of the skills with the highest elemental attribute, the Thunder Body Movement skill. System: I want to learn Thunder Crusher. Inheriting Thunder Crusher requires 3 middle-level skill essence. Are you sure you want to inherit it? 3 middle-level skill essence was equivalent to 300 million beginner skill essence, which was the same as Azura's Wrath. Yes. Lin Chen's mind was filled with the memories from the inheritance. He quickly absorbed them. With the spiritual power of a Dharma, he absorbed the memories at an extremely fast speed. In 2 hours, Lin Chen had thoroughly fused with this brand new movement technique. The astral trampling battle thunder is divided into 2 levels: Thousand Lightning Shadows Instant and Astral Trampling Teleportation. So this is a top-tier blue rank movement technique. I wonder how many times faster than the Wind Prison Hades step? Lin Chen, who had fused with the inherited memories, exclaimed in amazement. However, if he was traveling normally, he would still use the Wind Prison Hades steps first. This was because the amount of battle chi consumed by the astral treading thunder combo was truly terrifying. System, I want to use 2 rune evolution stones to evolve the Phantom Rune and Slow Rune. Received. The Phantom and Slow runes have been upgraded to level 4 characteristic runes. It consumed less rune energy and was more effective. The Phantom Rune can double the damage received, and you can use up to 3 doppelgangers at the same time. The previous Phantom Rune could only use 2 doppelgangers at most, but now he could use 3 at most. Moreover, it required less rune energy to display even more power. I've been here for so long. It's time to go out. Lin Chen realized that the battle chi imprint that he had left on Ling Yueqi and the other 2 was not triggered. This proved that they were not in danger. It seemed like the young man in purple did not come to the Deadland. Perhaps he was not interested in the others at all. The young man in purple's life level was different from the rest. To him, the holy fire-level geniuses were like tiny aphids. It was impossible for him to kill everyone just to kill the aphids in his eyes. The most he could do was to step on the aphids when they were in front of him. Lin Chen activated his purple phoenix wings and left the area of the Golden Thunder combo. Outside the Deadland, Han Yizhi and the rest were quietly waiting for Lin Chen's return. Yan Qianyun informed them that Lin Chen was fine, so Ling Yueqi and the other 2 waited outside quietly. Otherwise, according to Ling Yueqi's character, she would have rushed in after not seeing Lin Chen for a few days. A beam of purple flame and green light flashed by. Lin Chen's figure appeared outside the thundercloud area. Class Monitor. Lin Chen. Han Yizhi and Ling Yueqi were overjoyed and immediately flew over. Why did you take so long to come out? What happened inside? We all heard that there was a battle inside. Han Ziyun rebuked. Lin Chen was about to say something when he saw Yan Qianyun on the other side looking at him with a complicated expression. She was touched, sighed, and hesitant. A person appeared inside. He's very powerful. His cultivation level is the same as mine, but his ability is comparable to a Heaven Star Border level 3. Lin Chen's words were shocking. The 3 of them were shocked. Hearing Lin Chen's tone, did he not encounter someone more powerful than him in the Deadland? Ms. Yan Qianyun, do you know anything? At this moment, Lin Chen asked Yan Qianyun with a deep meaning. Yan Qianyun, who was always elegant and refined, actually showed hesitation. She wanted to say something but stopped. Boom. Suddenly, 7 figures surrounded Lin Chen. Lin Chen, hand over the Saint Flame seed that was bestowed by the Saint Flame. You can't eat so many Saint Flame seeds alone. How can we let you take all the secrets of heaven and earth? The leader of the 7 people, Ling Tian and Ning Fan of the Ning family, said coldly, which made Lin Chen frown. These guys actually want to rob him? There were hundreds of geniuses on the scene who were also surprised by this scene. Led by Ling Tian and Murong Chongqing, Ning Fan of the Ning family, Ning Yunlan, Shui Hao of the Shui family, Yi Qingyu Yi Yanxia, they actually wanted to rob Lin Chen? Among these people, 6 of them were experts in the top 8. Among the 5 heavenly kings, 3 of them were experts. Among them, Ling Tian and Murong Chongqing wanted to kill Lin Chen from the bottom of their hearts. They were defeated by Lin Chen and were defeated by an 8th-level Heaven Dipper realm expert. They felt that they had suffered a great humiliation and couldn't swallow it at all. Ling Yueqi and Han Yizhi immediately stood beside Lin Chen, ready to fight. Lin Chen stood in front of them and said to the 7 people with a mocking smile, "Oh? Want to rob? I think you guys are tired of living. How dare you rob your ancestor?" Lin Chen glanced at Yi Yanxia and Yi Qingyu and raised his eyebrows slightly. "Yi Yanxia, you also want to meddle in other people's business?" Yi Yanxia smiled bitterly and said helplessly, "I still lack a Saint Flame seed. If Sir Lin Chen is willing to give me one, Yanxia will leave immediately. In that case, I won't be polite. You guys are courting death." A murderous intent flashed across Lin Chen's eyes. "Lin Chen, don't talk nonsense here. Don't think that you are invincible just because you have a special technique to avoid the Heavenly Dipper golden lightning. This time, the 7 of us will join forces. Who do you think you are?" Ling Tian, who was the leader, sneered and suddenly drew his Dragon Abyss 7-star sword. In an instant, the atmosphere became tense and tense. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.